What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. Tenla Chapter 291 Old Friends Pawn Advertisement. Huh? Do you dare to use this name in front of my uncle? Just as the two were talking, a tall figure suddenly blocked the light at the door of the bank, and then heard the sound of leather shoes stepping on the ground. It seems that you are not ordinary criminals. There are medicines? Transformation? I always feel that you have something to do with a friend of mine. The person who came in was naturally very righteous. He, with 5 keen senses, listened to the conversation between the two people just now. Huh, is it Hero, S, again? It's really the same as a cockroach, no matter how you fight it, more will come out. Since Masada dared to step into this gate and was not their partner, then it must be from the Hero, S, side. Shishan Yurin snorted and prepared to use his newly acquired power to educate Masada as before. Wait, he is the one. On the side, Osawa Daisuke seems to recognize the identity of Masada. After all, he has been publicized so many times on TV, and his personality is also destined to pay more attention to intelligence, so although this kind of dress is the first see you once, but this face still evokes his memory. Unfortunately, when Ozawa Daisuke's reminder was halfway through, Yudo Nishiyama rushed out. Taste the iron fist of the uncle, Hero, S. The whole person suddenly expanded with a punch, and the tiger pattern of 23 black and yellow appeared on the surface of Chishan Yongren's body, and there seemed to be a thin layer of fluff on it. Even his pupils became peculiar to cats. That kind of long and narrow type. Not only that, but white steam came out of his whole body. Obviously he had activated his quirk. It's all said that in front of me. Where did you have the courage to call yourself uncle? As expected, you can't get rid of the guy Nishio Hunter. Forget it. Anyway, I plan to solve him in the future. Let you guys first. It's not bad for a horseman to get rid of it. Facing the brave Chishan who rushed over, Masada didn't even react. He was still talking calmly, without the intention of avoiding, and he didn't pay attention to the brave Chishan at all. Damn, look down on me. Go to hell, stop. Although Ozawa Daisuke yelled behind him, Yudo Nishiyama had already reached the string and had to send it out. He raised his right hand high, and grabbed the fist as big as a bowl toward the chest of the lord. The Masada, who was like a wooden stake, naturally couldn't dodge such an attack. His chest was directly pierced by Chishan's fist, and the red liquid splashed everywhere. Hey, is the shot so spicy? If the floor tiles of the bank are broken, I will be very upset. Advertisement with a hole in his chest. Jung didn't panic at all. Instead, he stretched out a hand with a headache and grabbed his hair, as if Chishan Yongren is not as important as the tiles on the ground. On the contrary, the brave Chishan who launched the attack was speechless at this time. I saw that his fist was firmly stuck in Masada's chest, and he could no longer feel the existence of his own hand. Then, good luck to you. A faint blessing to Chishan Brave, Masada also grabbed his fist, and Chishan Brave's arm was tied tightly by the magma flying up at this time, making him unable to move at all. Boom. With a huge explosion of air, Masada's fist also hit his chest, and magma was not used, but simply relying on strength and propulsion. After all, he did not want to directly kill people with a punch, then the trouble will continue. However, the contrast is still very obvious. Just after Masada was punched, his body did not shake, that is to say, he directly resisted such a huge impact. However, Chishan Yongren was different. The moment his chest touched his fist, a deep depression was formed, and the sound of bone breaking and shattering came. Then, in a whirlwind, he directly flew out. Even the arm was also torn off abruptly under this force. Boom. It was like a truck hitting the wall, directly penetrating the wall of the bank, and flying onto the road. Chishan Yongren was lying in the ruins without knowing his life or death. What a stupid. Ozawa Daisuke watched his partner being knocked down so easily. Naturally he knew that he was probably not Masada's opponent, and it was the right thing to save his life at this time. Although I don't know how you know Lord Nishio's name, but I am not the same as that idiot. You can't keep me. While talking, Osawa Daisuke's body has also changed, and hairs have also appeared on the body surface, and black spots have appeared on it. Ho, that was a tiger just now. Are you a leopard? It seems that you are a person who prefers speed. As for the guy just now, he is a trash anyway, so I won't discuss him. He glanced at Osawa Daisuke curiously. Masada didn't know how much the increase of this gene can reach now, but compared with Hero, S, Killer, the stability has improved a lot. However, Osawa Daisuke did not speak, he was just guarding Masada's movements. Advertisement, As soon as the ear moved, Masada's footsteps suddenly moved. Like a teleportation, Masada's figure suddenly appeared in front of the gap in the wall that he had blasted before, and then the magma on her body surged and directly blocked the wall. How come? After Masada's figure appeared, Osawa Daisuke's figure also appeared, and he stopped in front of Masada, looking at him with shock, obviously astonished as to why he could block his way in advance. Well, how should I put it? Forget it, anyway, you don't understand it anyway. It seems that your speed is very fast, but I don't know if you can avoid invisible attacks as fast as you can. It's just a small trash fish. Although it seems to have a genetic increase, and the quirk seems to have been strengthened by some kind of medicine, it is more than enough to deal with the average hero, S. but it is still not enough in the eyes of Masada. The originally lazy eyes condensed abruptly, an invisible and colorless aura impacted on Osawa Daisuke's body, and he was also very cooperative, and his eyes fell to the ground weakly when his eyes were white. Here we are. Where is villains? Just when Masada picked up Osawa Daisuke on the ground and was about to walk out of the bank, Million's voice suddenly reached his ears, and then he saw Million come in directly through the wall on the other side. Oh, your battle uniform is also specially made. Now there is no need to prevent being overly exposed. I always feel that we are soulmates. Seeing that the battle uniform on his body was still completely worn on Million, his eyes were too clear, and he couldn't help but exclaimed. Although I am very happy for you to say that, but Masada classmate, how about villains? Ah, villains, what I have is that there is another one outside, but it has probably fainted, right? He lifted the hands of Osawa Daisuke, who had not moved at all, and said to Million with a surprised face too easily, there was no proud expression on his face. Million had some doubts about what he was doing here. The police's tone was very serious just now, so he hurried in to support his companions. As a result, he just rushed in anxiously, only to find that villains had been taken down. The gap made him unable to react for a while. Good job. I really can't think of how to describe Million that feels like this. He can only show his own smile, and then give a thumbs up. At this time, he has no other way besides praise. Chapter 292 Join the Blessed Ba Jai Club advertisement. With the help of Masada, this bank robbery ended without any risk. Although these villains were not considered to be influential, they also reminded Masada. Nishio Hunter, who has obtained the AFO inheritance, although it seems that the relationship with Shigeoki is not a wrongzy, but it will not be easy to abandon the shadow. He still hides in the dark and waits for an opportunity. What are you talking about? To assist the Dead Wei Ba Jai Association. In a temporary stronghold of the League of Villains, Twice was asking Shigeki with a look of surprise. Yes. Don't let me repeat it. Shigeki is standing in front of all League of Villains members, including Tu-kun, whose injuries have improved. Their plan is indeed of full value. Twice, Kurogiri, starting today, you are members of the underworld. This boring joke is not funny at all. Deadwood. Facing his boss's orders, Twice didn't seem to be very satisfied, and even his tone of voice became strange. Are you a cold-blooded leader? Wouldn't you just let that masked be ****** de-brainwash with rhetoric? That guy has scrapped one of the magician's hands. What's more, I accidentally brought that guy back and now wants me to join them again. Don't look at me like this, I'm also a person anyway. Pulling his headgear away, Twice's distorted face was covered with cold sweat, making people look a little chilly. Stop talking, Twice. Just when Twice wanted to step forward and grab the collar of the Deadwood and argue with him, Kurogiri stopped in front of him, speaking with a serious face. Let Shimiyamu finish, he must have his meaning in doing this. Kurogiri can be said to be the most trusted person of the League of Villains, and he is also wholeheartedly assisting the death of the tree. Although he does not understand why he should be sent to the bazaar, he has already witnessed the death. As he grew up, he chose to believe unconditionally. Facing the words between Twice, Shigeki never said a word, reached out and patted Kurogiri on the shoulder, motioned him to move away, then moved forward, took off the severed hand on his face, revealing his true identity, face. All this is for me, and all of you, advertisement. At this time, the anger that was always full of anger in the eyes of the dead Handlewood disappeared, and it was replaced by the care for his companions. Sing Wei Ba Jai will do everything possible to weaken our ability to move. There are 80% of them trying to dig out you who are excellent in ability. They should be planning to nibble on the League of Villains from the outside to the inside. The other party did not intend to treat us equally from the beginning. Twice, you once said that you should be responsible for the magician's hands. After all, I trust you very much. When we first met, I was Kurogiri. Long time no see. Birdhead B****************** D. I will never forgive you, please also take care of me. On the next day, Kurogiri and Twice came to the meeting room under the Ba Jai Way under the sign of Shiba Mu. I'm sorry, I came back late, overhaul, just in case, I took them the longest way. It was still Chisaki's young hair, and Zan Yi Zhen acted as the guide. At this time, almost all the main cadres of the Dead Wei Ba Jai Association were concentrated in this meeting room to get to know the two who will become their companions. Among all the people, only Chisaki was sitting on the sofa, and the others were standing behind him. It seemed that there was a real underworld style. Fingers nodded unconsciously at a wound on his head. Chisaki's eyes were still calm. I'm sorry about the magician. Actually, I don't want to waste his arm. I know you still have grievances in your hearts, but since it has become a cooperative relationship, I hope that the two of you can do your best to help us complete the plan. Hey, I clearly remember that your kid was so domineering the first time we met, so what should we all do? It is still twice as hilarious and finely divided words, which makes people around who don't know his details a bit inexplicable. As long as you want to be the members of the organization, you can obey our instructions. For this reason, I hope the two can express the quirk in detail and exchange information in advance, so that in the event of an accident, they can be more cooperative in response. I have to say that Chisaki is indeed a big boss. He always looks like he is not arrogant or impetuous. His speech is also very decent, reasonable and well-founded, and will not arouse other people's disgust. Perhaps it is the same as what he said. He is very good at employing people. Huh? Why should I tell you my quirk? I have decided, and I will never tell you disgusting guys. Twice exploded as soon as he heard it. He swayed his hands frantically and formed an X shape. It won't be fast, and he suddenly spoke unnaturally. My ability can increase various things to 2, but it must be based on a clear impression. The only difference from the main body is only in durability. The standard varies with the main body, but after a certain degree of damage it will collapse. In addition, for some personal reasons, I cannot increase myself. Advertisement. Only when he realized what he had done, Twice was holding his mouth in disbelief. He was pretty sure just now that it was not his second personality that was at fault, but an irresistible force made him speak. Why not? This is not the usual me. While he was still wondering why this happened, Kurogiri also spoke up suddenly. My quirk is teleportation, which allows a large number of people to pass through the dimensional gate in the black smoke covering my whole body. The smoke is almost immune to all attacks, but the weakness is that it can only be teleported to the coordinates set in advance. Like Twice's reaction, Kurogiri was also full of disbelief. He originally planned to say one at random to fool Harasaki, but just now he completely revealed his abilities. I see. As if not surprised by the scene in front of him, Shizaki said lightly, indicating that he already understood. I have one more thing I want to ask you, Miss Zhao. A tall man in a black robe who had been standing behind Shizaki before, staring at them suddenly spoke. Did Xiaomu ask if you plan to betray? This man's name is Otomoto Gen, and his quirk is Frank Original Heart. He will force people to tell the truth, and sometimes even lead to weaknesses that he hasn't even noticed. Just now Twice and Kurogiri unconsciously said their quirk, which is his ability. At this time, he asked again, no X2, that's okay. Receiving a satisfactory answer, Shizaki got up from the sofa and walked towards the door with his pockets in his pockets. You are welcome to join as members of the Bajai Association, but you are wanted criminals after all, so you can't act at will. Please stay in the underground residential area without further instructions. Don't show your face. When the trust between us becomes more reliable, it will be easy to say, it all depends on your performance. Chapter 293 Kurogiri with Ulterior Motives Advertisement. What? This is simply house arrest. In an underground house in the Bajai Way, Twice is venting his dissatisfaction on the ground fiercely. After receiving the wind and washing the dust from the very beginning, he and Kurogiri were asked to stay in this room. Food and application water were delivered. They only had to rest and wait for the day when the plan started. Kurogiri listened to Twice's complaint and did not speak. Instead, he carefully observed the structure of the room. After confirming that there were no probes and bugs, he fumbled through his body, and then took out a small ball. Pattern. With a soft sound, the ball suddenly exploded in a white mist, and finally, the magician appeared in front of the two of them. Huh? This is... Twice was surprised by this. He didn't even know that Kurogiri was still hiding this hand. Could it be that he had been secretly prepared? Don't be too surprised. If you know it in advance, you might say it out. Glancing faintly at Twice, which had fallen into a sluggishness, Kurogiri rapped his head and said silently. Okay, let's talk about our plan next. Sitting cross-legged, Kurogiri's long and narrow eyes revealed a glimmer of 420, speaking to the magician and Twice. Well, although I don't know what happened, I think I know it. Hole. Why didn't you tell me this kind of thing earlier? Do you look down on me? Ignoring Twice, who was schizophrenic again, Kurogiri spoke to the magician. I learned from hanging that the plan of the Deadway Bajai Club was centered around a child. This kid is their core. Since they are not ready to cooperate with us, then we must give them a trick too. Taking this kid away. Advertisement. Kurogiri's words shocked both the magician and Twice. The magician sent him over to assist Kurogiri because of the death handle, but he did not tell him about the specific task. And Twice was completely dumbfounded. Originally, he thought he was going to really come to assist the Daiwei Bajai Society, but in the end he just came to be a second to five boy. So, how should we act? Since it is their core, they will definitely be protected very carefully. With the combat power of the three of us, it is impossible to be the opponent of Chisaki. After listening to Kurogiri's words, the magician asked the most, key question. The three of them are not known for their combat strengths, and Chisaki's quirk also knows that it is decomposition and repair, which can be said to be a quirk that integrates offense and defense, and is extremely difficult to entangle. As long as he is not crushed to death, Chisaki can continue to repair his injuries, and then abruptly consume you. Moreover, there are many good players in the Shohui Basai Guild. Kojizaki is already very troublesome alone. The magician does not think that the three of them can run wild in it. This requires Twice. He is also an important part of our plan. Let him proliferate the two of us. As long as he knows the location of the child, he will use your compressed quirk and my teleportation to bring the child out of here. After that, he only needs to leave Twice and mine. The copy is here. Even if Chisaki starts to doubt us, my copy can send Twice away. Unexpectedly, the League of Villains had a bad idea from the beginning, which was an extremely vicious idea. Ji-Chi has invested a lot of manpower and material resources in this project, and the bad reason is the core of all his plans. Without her, everything is just fantasy. If the League of Villains is really allowed to succeed, then it also indicates that his plan has completely failed, which is enough to make him run away. You can try, but the action must be quick when the time comes. After a moment of silence, the magician also agreed to decide to give this plan a try. If it succeeds, can the League of Villains take over Chizaki's plan to complete a great cause? This is a very tempting idea. Then we'll be lurking first, and then try to get close to this core. After finishing the off-campus activities on the previous Sunday, Masada and Legu returned to school again and began their ordinary school life. Their next off-campus activity will be the next Sunday. After struggling to get through the long cultural class and the actual combat class that Masada seemed to be a little boring, finally waited for the weekend. Today's weather is really good, then just as I said before, I will go to the interview with you today. Advertisement. Early in the morning, Masada woke up abnormally early. After breakfast, she lay on the sofa on the first floor and had a nap. Seeing Yayorozu Bei-Cha-Cha, her eyes were bright, and she hurriedly moved in. I know, the time is almost there, let's set off now, don't let Wu-senpai wait in a hurry. Yayorozu said helplessly, not understanding why it was just a very ordinary interview and the wife had to follow it. Masada won't say that he wants to sneak some small moves outside the school. I haven't made friends for a long time recently. After the three had cleaned up, they walked quickly to the door of Shangying, and after meeting with Wei-senpai, they boarded the train to Longju Hero's office. In fact, Masada followed a few people this time because of safety reasons. After the last bank robbery, he knew very well that the outside world was no longer as peaceful as before. Even in broad daylight, there would be villains that were extremely vicious. Although I trust the strength of the three people, what if there is a case? Don't forget that AFO threatened Masada with Yayorozu at the time, then his students, Nishio Hunter and Shigeoki, would not use the same tricks. It was too old to say hello to Mrs. Aizawa, and Mrs. Aizawa had no objection to this proposal. After all, if you can encounter danger around Masada, then Shang Mayan may really not be able to find an existence that can protect this person. Don't worry, Sister Longju is a very kind person. It's completely different from Endeavor. I heard that Endeavor always keeps his face cold. Can this face scare children? Walking on the road, Wei-senpai walked around in front of a few people, and her long light blue hair was shaking up and down with the ups and downs of her body. Since she got off the train, her words have not stopped. Shouldn't it be said that it is really a stubborn attribute? I think the Endeavor people are pretty good, but what you said makes sense. Masada wanted to explain for Endeavor, but there was no suitable reason. No way, Endeavor's reputation before was so bad. Would you like ice cream? The weather just after the summer vacation was quite hot, and passing by a dessert shop, Masada asked the three girls. Chapter 294. Unlucky Kurogiri Advertisement. Is there any golden ice cream? After the unanimous consent of the three girls, a few people walked into the ice cream shop. At this time, Cha-Cha accidentally saw a gold foil ice cream and was shocked. An ice cream cost 3,000 yen, why is it so expensive? Bo-senpai stretched out a slender finger and popularized the tea with a happy face. Because the surface of the ice cream is brushed with gold leaf, of course it will be more expensive. Quote. This is not more expensive, but too expensive. The diligent and thrifty housekeeper couldn't help but spit out, by the way, can gold be eaten? I remember the mistake of the story of swallowing gold and dying. This comes to Masada's small class. Gold itself is not poisonous, and swallowing gold will not be poisoned to death. The reason why the second sister Yu in the Dream of Red Mansion swallowed gold and died is because the gold she swallowed was too heavy, causing her stomach to be crushed. From this point of view, in fact, swallowing stones and swallowing heads is a shortcut to death. Gold is edible. Masada, who has a relatively sufficient small vault, asked the clerk for 4 gold foil ice creams from the clerk. But the gold here is not ordinary gold, but processed 24K gold. The World Health Organization has already listed gold as a kind of food additive. However, because the human body cannot absorb gold at all, after a day, the gold leaf will remain intact. She was still eloquently showing her erudite and talented wife, but Yayorozu suddenly covered her mouth. Don't say anything like that next, it's disgusting. Okay. Masada also discovered that this scene is really not suitable for discussing where the gold went in the end. After passing the ice cream to the girls, she closed her mouth. Then go ahead, there is still some distance from the office here. The desserts were quickly wiped out, and the 4 of them returned to the street again and walked towards their destination. Advertisement, Suddenly, Masada's ears twitched, and after closing her eyes and feeling it, a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. What's wrong? Yayorozu, who was walking next to him, saw that Masada stopped suddenly, and then showed this strange expression again, and couldn't help but ask a little curiously. I seem to have found an old friend. Opening his eyes, Masada's smile became even brighter. Because of the principle of safety first, Masada's experience has been opened since just now. After such a long time of exercise and use, the scope is no longer the same, and the consumption is extremely small. In this leisurely condition it can be said that the download is almost no consumption. And just now, in the area of perception that had always been normal, Masada noticed that the aura of two people suddenly increased, as if it had emerged from the void. After his full detection, the breath of the two men caught his attention. One of them turned out to be his old acquaintance, Kurogiri. "Come with me, I'm afraid the time to go to the office will be delayed a bit later." I didn't explain why with the three of them, because this thing was not clear for a while. Masada took a step directly and walked out first, and the three women behind him did not understand what medicine he sold in the gourd, but they were right. Masada's trust still followed. 7 turns and 8 turns around several alleys, the surrounding people gradually dwindled, the alleys became more complicated and narrow, and the environment became a little dark. I said, "Did we go the wrong way?" Wei Senpei is obviously full of doubts in her mind. Who can be in such a place? Is it possible that Masada is leading the wrong way? However, Masada still walked like the wind, and didn't care about these things at all. Although the positions of the two breaths had been changing, he could feel that Kurogiri was not far ahead. Once again around a corner, a sudden rush of footsteps came from the side alley. Pap. Pap. The sound of footsteps is very light, like a sound that can only be made without wearing shoes. It seems so dissonant in this place, but Masada's face is full of smiles. Advertisement. Turning her head to this dark alley, a small girl rushed out of it, bumped into Jung Tai's calf, tripped and ran. "Is it all right?" Leaning down, Masada helped the little girl who was a little unstable. The other breath he felt before was her, and it seemed that she was escaping from Kurogiri's pursuit. "For flowers. Why is there a little girl here?" The 3 women behind Jung Tai also saw the little girl he was holding in his hands, and they were all taken aback. The place where they are now normally doesn't even have a personal picture. Could it be that this little girl was abducted by a trafficker? I'll talk about it later, but we still have a guest. He picked up the little girl and set it aside. She twisted her fist too much, an array of fire gradually appeared on it, and finally the red light flourished, and the black alley was illuminated like daylight. "Let's talk about it. Why do you appear in such a place as the confidant of the dead wood? What's the matter with this little girl?" The 3 women who did not see the scene in the alley thought that Masada was talking to the air, but after walking up to see the situation inside, their faces also showed solemn expressions. At the end of this alley, the only place that was not stained red was the vague black mist, which was the Kurogiri's body. Igarashi Masada is hateful. Kurogiri just caught up here at this time. His plan was very successful. After a week, he finally figured out the location of the bad reason, and successfully brought the bad reason out of the dead Wei Bajai, old nest. Unfortunately, just when he was about to transfer, the bad reason that was already in a coma suddenly woke up, and then Kurogiri, who was holding her, felt a sharp pain all over his body, and the transfer position was also deviated, and finally appeared in this as a ghost place that is unfamiliar in life. If it's just like this, it's all right. After all, the bad reason is just a little girl. Is his nose so good? Can you find it in such a place? Looking at the enemy, Kurogiri, who seems to be ready to teleport away at any time, Masada said with a little disdain. "Don't struggle, please explain clearly, trust me, in front of me, you have no chance to transmit." Chapter 295 Masada's father's soul advertisement. HMPH, even if you were great, it is too arrogant. Kurogiri was immediately unhappy after hearing what the wife said. Although he knew that the front was definitely not his opponent, Kurogiri really hadn't been afraid of anyone in terms of his ability to escape. There are only 2 options for the current situation. The first is to open the portal immediately, and then move in for reinforcements, trying to get the bad things back from this place, and by the way, it can also solve the love of Igarashi Masada, the League of Villains, foe. Well, this thought was cut off by Kurogiri as soon as it came into being. Just kidding, even AFO is not Masada's opponent. I want to rely on the defeated soldiers in the League of Villains to fight him in the future. Then there is only the second option, run, as the saying goes, 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi. Heroes don't suffer from the 4 or 2 in front of their eyes, and they should treat each other with admiration on the 3 days. Kurogiri is not the kind of person who doesn't know how to work. On the contrary, he may be League of Villains is the smoothest and most flexible person. In the current situation, it is obviously impossible to continue to snatch the bad reason, so the mission can only fail, but correspondingly, the dead Wei Bajai will also lose the bad reason, which is unbearable for Chisaki. Yes, as long as you put blame on Hero S, you can start a war between them. Thinking of this, Kurogiri no longer hesitated. The black mist that had contracted in his body suddenly burst out, covering his surroundings, as if he wanted to open the passage. Unfortunately, just when he was about to succeed, a hot palm grabbed his body. The pain directly caused him to cry out in pain, and the use of quirk was also interrupted. I'm not saying, don't you have a chance to escape? Why can't you listen to people's speech well? It's really a headache. The Masada, who was still at the other end of the alley just now, had appeared in front of Kurogiri at this time, and one of his arms had turned into hot lava, pierced into the black mist. Looking anxiously at Kurogiri, who was struggling and twitching on the ground, Masada's arm returned to its original shape, and looked back at the somewhat sluggish 3 women. "100, can you help this guy with an emergency treatment? How'd I feel like if you can't make it through, you'll obviously be very light." Yayorozu became sober after hearing this, and the speed of the explosion just now really scared her. Advertisement, really, can it be so reckless? What if you were teleported away? Reluctantly stepped forward and used the quirk to create a roll of bandages. Yaoyorozu wanted to bandage Kurogiri. If Kurogiri really died here, it would be really a trouble. However, just when she wanted to do it, Kurogiri, who was still twisting on the ground, suddenly turned into a pool of black viscous liquid and scattered on the ground, and then spread in all directions. Counterfeit? Looks like this is the quirk of twice, right? Having played so many times with the League of Villains, the opponent's quirk Masada is naturally familiar with it. Seeing the scene in front of him, he immediately thought of twice. Is that a member of the League of Villains just now? How did you move to him before? Why did he suddenly become a liquid? I'm curious. After the crisis, which was not considered a crisis, resolved, the elder sister returned to her curious baby appearance, and began to ask questions around Masada. After a few words at random, and then asked Cha-Cha to explain the members of the League of Villains to the elder sister, the few people turned their eyes back to the little girl who appeared in the first place. This little girl is naturally bad. When Gang-O was fighting with Kurogiri, she stood still and did not move or make a sound. It was so quiet that she almost made people forget her existence. She wore only one dress and didn't even wear shoes, so that her feet looked a little red and swollen. At the same time, her arms and legs were covered with bandages. Could it be that she was injured? In addition, there is a small protruding horn on her forehead, which is like a ghost horn in a traditional Japanese story, which adds a touch of fairy to her already beautiful face. Then, my name is Igarashi Masada, what's your name, little sister? Kneeling down, keeping his height as equal as possible to the Bad Reason, Masada put on a smile that he believed to be kind and spoke towards the timid Bad Reason. So cute, I really want to take home and be my daughter. That's right, Masada's father's soul has already occurred, and the little loli in front of him makes him a little unable to control it. I call Bad Reason. Advertisement. Although the big brother in front of him knocked down the dark man, his smile really made the Bad Reason a little scared, so the Bad Reason tone was a bit coy. Hey, I said, Masada, you are a crime. The police will come after a while. Seeing that Masada seemed to be frightened by the Bad Reason, Yaoyorozu Bailima was dissatisfied with him, squeezed him aside, and then put the Bad Reason in his arms. Bad sister, are you separated from mom and dad? I have to say that women have a natural advantage in this regard. Under Yaoyorozu's embrace, the Bad Reason seems to have let go of their guards, and the originally stiff body also relaxed. No, mom and dad are gone. It was originally a kindly inquiry, but now it seems to have asked bad news, which made everyone's mood suddenly worse. Come on, my sister will eat this for you. Seeing the Bad Reason of silence again, Cha-Cha suddenly thought of something, fumbled for a bit from her body, and then took out a soft candy and shook it in front of the Bad Reason. The sweet scent from the gummies immediately attracted the attention of his arms. The big eyes that were originally apathetic also emitted light, and the corners of the mouth seemed to be left with slobber. What a poor child, it's so exciting to see ordinary candies, why don't we adopt her? Seeing the Bad Reason, the softness in Masada's heart was touched again, and he sniffed, and said to Yaoyorozu with a touch of emotion. We'll talk about everything until the police arrive. Seeing the Bad Reason licking the gummy cautiously, and the happy expression on his face, everyone was finally relieved, waiting here for the arrival of the police and Hero S. From the time Kurogiri appeared, Tsuki Senpai Longju has already been contacted, and she should be able to get here soon. Who is this child? What's the matter with the bandage on her body? Why is she in Kurogiri's hands and looks like she is on the run? A series of questions are entangled in Masada's mind. His instinct tells him that the appearance of Bad Reason is only the beginning. Chapter 296 Chisaki's quirk advertisement. Due to the timely notification, the four did not wait long before Longju arrived. With Longju, there was Masada and their acquaintances, the police officer in the grave, and because this incident involved the League of Villains, All Might will come soon. In the local police station, the news provided by Masada made Longju and Zhongnei police officers have to pay attention to it. The Kurogiri of the League of Villains, Yain also informed me the other day, saying that the League of Villains was in contact with the Shuhui Bajai Club. Could it be they did this time? Looking through the portfolio in his hand, Longju frowned in thought. Although the Kurogiri this time is just a copy, it seems that the Bad Reason is very important to him, and it seems to be related to a plan. Unfortunately, I started a little harder and couldn't ask more information. Masada was also sitting in this conference room. After all, he was the first participant in this event, and the news he knew was more comprehensive. The police officer in the mound is sitting on the main seat. Although his face is ordinary, he seems to be a big man in the police system. No matter where the police station is, he can be there. The person said that being a policeman needs this kind of passerby face. 23. It has nothing to do with you. The characters copied by twice using quirk can't bear much strength. It can only show that Kurogiri's ontology has other things to do at this moment. Now I can only wait. That little girl is called Bad Reason, right? She is emotionally unstable, and she is very afraid of strangers, but she is very dependent on Sui Lua Wan. I believe that I will be able to ask soon. Order something. Just as the police officer in the mound was talking, a knock came from the door, and then Wei Senpai, Yaoyorozu Hyaku, Cha-Cha and a police recorder walked in. The previous interrogation work unexpectedly went smoothly, and through the police system and the inquiry of the school sister, the detailed identity of the bad reason has been inquired. Why is your face so ugly? Masada looked at the three women with solemn expressions, and couldn't help asking questions. Haven't they already obtained the first-hand information? Hearing the words of Masaru, Yayorozu and Cha-Cha looked at each other and didn't speak, and Wukai-senpai also sighed heavily and finally said, "My little sister's quirk is very dangerous. She seems to have touched her father when she awakened the quirk. It is said that her father completely disappeared completely. It is inferred from the situation we got that her father should be completely dead." How come? Advertisement Jung's eyes widened too suddenly, and his heart was full of shock. Generally speaking, the age of awakening quirk is about 4 years old. At that time, the children have already started to remember things, and the bad reason is now only 5 or 6 years old. That is to say, she has witnessed her own killing. The process of death, father? It's no wonder that the bad reason is always such a fear of the outside world. Such a blow must be huge for her. The next thing is the key point. Her mother is the daughter of the Shohui Bajai Wei. After the evil father disappeared, her mother sent the bad reason to her father. In other words, the bad reason is being taken care of by her grandfather, the current head of the Dewey Bajai Club. The words of Senpai made everyone in the audience think deeply, and Masada asked. In this way, the League of Villains has already had in-depth contact with the Bajai Society of Death, otherwise the evil sister will not be brought out. But it is not clear whether they are friends or enemies. Is the League of Villains wanting to kidnap the bad reason and use it as a hostage to threaten the dead Wei Bajai Wei, or is it entrusted by the dead Wei Bajai to bring the bad reason out? After listening to Mrs. Tai's words, Wei Senpai shook her head. Things are not that simple. According to my sister, Shohui Bajai will use her for a certain experiment. That's how the bandages on her arms and legs come from. Do you mean that the bad reason was used by her outsiders as material? Long Ju banged on the table fiercely and couldn't help but yelled. She had also seen bad reasons just now. Such a little girl with pink jade bracelets, can her grandfather get along? And it's the most unacceptable human test. It's not like that. Police officer Zhongnei just received the materials from his deputy and kept watching. At this time, he corrected Long Ju's words. The head of the dead Wei Bajai Wei has been in a coma some time ago. Now it is under the head of the young man, and a man named Ji Chi is in control. Jizaki? This guy is really not a good person. I remembered too much of the mission performed in the Night Eye office last week. At that time, he had seen Harasaki's photos. On the surface, he was full of bookishness, but he was such a beast behind his back. Advertisement, I am coming. Just when the conference room fell silent, the door was suddenly pushed open with a bang, and then the muscle version of All Might appeared at the door. Well, what's going on in the League of Villains? As soon as he entered the door, All Might couldn't wait to inquire about the League of Villains. For Tamura Shigaraki, he still had a knot. But unlike usual, everyone was silent at this time and did not respond to him. Seeing this, All Might also knew that the matter might be serious, and his expression became serious. He took the materials handed by the police officer in the mound and looked at it page by page. The more I look at All Might, the more frightened he becomes. Even during his hero's activities for so many years, he rarely sees a character 420 comparable to Harasaki. This is simply indignation. Speaking of which, what is Chizaki's quirk? The Masada suddenly broke the silence. Hearing Masada's words, the Sukachi police officer was also taken aback, and then looked down at the file in his hand. His quirk is overhaul, which means renovation, and this is also his code name in the 8th Desire Association. It can decompose and reorganize the object touched by the hand, and it can also cure the disability and disease when the human body is reorganized. It is a quirk that can be destroyed and treated. As long as it can be repaired immediately, people can also be resurrected. Even if it is not in human form, it can still be cured completely. Because Chisaki is not a so-called black household, his quirk is also registered and recorded in the police system. In other words, it is very likely that the bad sister has also been repaired by him. Masada's words finally reminded everyone of this most terrifying possibility. Since the human body can be repaired, is it possible to continue the experiment even if the bad reason cannot be sustained, as long as it is repaired? I can't wait to see you, Shizaki. The clenched fists pressed down fiercely, and even formed a depression on the wooden tabletop, gritting their teeth too much, like a beast that chooses people to eat. Chapter 297 Kirishima's story advertisement. After investigating the bad reason, the police station immediately dispatched a search warrant. Since the base camp of the Bajai Society of Death is under the jurisdiction of the Yayan office, and Yayan is also investigating this organization, so this one action will center on the Night Eye. This time, Yayan invited many people, including Long Ju, Fat, and even Aizawa Teacher and many other professional heroes. However, in line with the purpose of not arguing, coupled with the fact that today is really rushed, many personnel and logistics are not in place, so the decision to start the operation is tomorrow, that is, Sunday. After talking with Long Ju, after Quan Dang was interviewing, Masada, Yayorozu Bai, and Cha-Cha 3 went back to school first. Next, the police need to make arrangements. After all, they are only students and it is not easy to participate in it. Of course, The Tsukachi police officer once invited Masada to participate in the meeting, but was rejected by Masada on the grounds that it was too troublesome. In Masada's opinion, a small organization like the Daihui Bajai Society can be pushed all the way by himself. He really doesn't bother to participate in things that require brainstorming, and he just needs to be a thug. And when such an emergency happened here, the off-campus activities on the other side were also unfolding like fire. In the future, please give me more advice. Kirishima is patrolling with the Celestial Eclipse Ring at this time. At this time, Kirishima seems to be running out of energy, and has been talking with the Celestial Eclipse Ring. It would be convenient if it was a million. After all, your enthusiasm made me deeply scared. However, in the face of Kirishima's enthusiasm, Tianshiwan was very indifferent, so don't say it coldly. Knowing the character of Tianshiwan, Kirishima will naturally not be angry, but continue to say, "Do you know what Fat is doing?" Seeing him answer the phone and leave in a hurry, is there something serious? That's right, just now Fat, which is the career hero, followed by Kirishima's off-campus activities, received a call from Yain. After hearing that there was an impromptu meeting, he ordered Tianshiwan to leave without looking back, made Kirishima very curious. "You must be brought in to bully me. There is indeed a big event. There will be a big action tomorrow, so be prepared." While continuing to patrol the street, Tianshiwan said indifferently, Fat had already briefly talked to him just now. Although the meetings there are important, the daily patrols are also necessary, so he now replaces Fat's duties, led Kirishima on patrol. "A big event. I feel like my whole body is boiling." With a touch of a pair of fists, Kirishima said smugly, and just like Masada, he is also the kind of person who can break through himself in battle. After hearing Kirishima's words, Tianshiwan didn't speak, but gave him a cold look. He was not as optimistic as Kirishima. Facing such a big event, the first thing he thought of was death and sacrifice. "Advertisement, it's fighting, come on." As the atmosphere gradually cooled down, a shout suddenly came from the street behind. The two people who heard the shouts turned their heads abruptly, and saw three people running in this direction with the word, "Bad guy," on their faces, still holding a large package in their hands. They yelled while running. "Damn, what a bad luck. I thought I could finally make a fortune this time." Robbery. While Kirishima was still stunned, the Eclipse Ring, who had already experienced such incidents, rushed up. "Don't even think about running." Taking a step forward and standing still, Tianshiwan stretched out an arm towards the three people who rushed towards him, and the 5 fingers instantly turned into octopus tentacles, quickly entwining the two criminals. "What is this? Octopus?" The two people who were entangled had never seen such a weird quirk. Their eyes opened wide, and they were tied up firmly without even having to fight back. "It's so ugly." The inferiority side of his personality reappeared, and the spirit of the Eclipse Ring was wilted again, but fortunately, he had not forgotten his own job, and turned into a tentacle arm that was violently pulled by him. The two people who lived were led by him to pull in their own direction. Boom. I don't know when, the other hand of Tianshiwan turned into a shell-like appearance, and the hard shell hit hard on the heads of the two people. The two people also foamed at the mouth and fainted. Passed. After solving these two people, Tianshiwan did the same, and killed another person who was still in a shocked state. The 3 criminal members who were still very shabby just now all fell into his hands in an instant. As for the magical transformation of Tianshiwan just now, it is his quirk, reappear. He can use his body to reproduce the characteristics of the ingredients he has eaten. The octopus and shells just now are the octopus balls and clams that Tianshiwan ate before. This is actually a very convenient quirk. If he eats a bird, it means he can also fly. The quirk with flying ability is very popular. Advertisement, it's amazing, quirk is so good at using it, and the speed is even worse. Kirishima was only late at this time. Looking at the Eclipse Ring that had already stacked villains on top of each other, he couldn't help but exclaimed. Whether it's the use of quirk, the ability to respond on the spot, or the experience of the enemy, the Eclipse Ring is far beyond him. This further strengthens Kirishima's determination to exercise in extracurricular activities. Boom. Just when the surrounding people were cheering the Tianshiwan and the Tianshiwan was at a loss, a gunshot broke the breath of peace. Someone shot. Run. Hurry up. The passers-by who were onlookers before, and the shops around, were panicked when they heard the gunshot, and fled the room in panic. This is the sad part of heroes. When encountering this kind of crisis, only oneself can save oneself. The target of the bullet was the Eclipse Ring, which had already penetrated into his unprotected arm at this time. Senior. Seeing that the Eclipse Ring was knocked to the ground by a bullet, Kirishima immediately activated the quirk, stood in front of him and watched around vigilantly, trying to find the person who fired the shot. Got you. In fact, there is no need to look for it. Among the scattered crowd, only one person has not left. At this time, his expression is very horrified, and the hand holding the pistol is also shaking, but he still firmly points the muzzle at Kirishima. Boom. There was another shot. This time the bullet hit Kirishima's hardened chest. After the kinetic energy was exhausted, he bounced back weakly. I will catch you. Chapter 298 Fierce Rage Advertisement. At the moment of crisis, Kirishima showed his passion for being a man of blood, and completed the hardening of the whole body in an instant. His body squatted slightly, as if he was accumulating strength. The fierce eyes and the weird appearance made the little B***** D standing in front of him with a pistol a little frightened. Bang! 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 The fighting power of this gangster didn't seem to be very strong. Facing the oppression brought by Kirishima, he chose to believe in the pistol in his hand. A few shots were fired again, but facing the hardened Kirishima, these bullets only left a few white spots on his body and did not cause effective damage at all. These things are useless to me. Repelled a few steps by the shock brought just now, Kirishima did not move his footsteps. After all, the eclipse ring was behind him. Just now Kirishima blamed himself for his negligence for causing the eclipse ring to be shot. This time he won't be backing down. He glanced back slightly, wanting to see how the eclipse ring was injured, but it was this glance that made Kirishima stunned. The eclipse ring, which was still lying on the ground just now, touched his head blankly at this time, then turned to Kirishima and said with some confusion. "It's not as painful as I imagined, so you are okay, senior? So handsome." Kirishima was naturally very happy to see that the eclipse ring was slowly standing up. Not only did he have an excellent offensive power, but he also had first-class protection. Even bullets couldn't harm him. What's the matter with this broken pistol? However, the gangster on the side panicked. There was originally a Kirishima who was immune to bullet attacks. It was very difficult. Now even the person who was shot just now stands up like a okay person. He is about to face a 2-on-1 situation. How happily this makes him save people. I'll take him to justice, although I don't know why he was unharmed. The eclipse ring is obviously more concerned about the villains in front of him at this time, tied up. However, what he didn't expect was that the quirk, which is usually instructed by the hip arm, would not be able to play a tiny bit at this time, as if it had failed out of thin air. I am not injured, but the quirk cannot be activated. Rao is an eclipse ring who has experienced 420 training. Faced with such a situation, he is also panicked. In this society, losing the existence of quirk is almost equivalent to saying goodbye to the profession of hero. In other words, the failure of quirk negated his efforts for more than 10 years. UB******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** don't know why this happened, it must have nothing to do with that little b asterisk 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 d. When the fat is not there and the eclipse ring cannot use the quirk, he is the only one to take the shot at this time. NS. Do not come. Seeing Kirishima, who was like a devil, the gangster turned around in a panic. The longer the time was, the lower his chance of escape. However, Kirishima naturally wouldn't let him go so easily. After nearly a year of exercise by Xiangying, his physical fitness is naturally not comparable to this little b asterisk 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 d. Although the little b asterisk 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 d keeps moving in the corner of the alley, Kirishima is still in prison. He followed behind him firmly. I told you not to come over, don't you understand? It looks like you want to save your comrades, then don't run away alone, go back and help them. During the chase, the two kept talking, but the content of the conversation was a bit strange. Why is Kirishima in a preaching tone? I shot people because I was afraid of running away alone, are you still a man? He was very uncomfortable with the masculine behavior of the gangster. Kirishima directly criticized it verbally, and hearing Kirishima's words, the gangster gritted his teeth unwillingly, and seemed to be patient. After chasing like this for about a minute, after turning into a small alley again, facing the gangster, it was a blocked road. Give up. You have nowhere to run. Seeing this, Kirishima was overjoyed and immediately speeded up to catch up. If it is a heads up, he has strong confidence in himself. It's annoying. The gangster, who was originally on the verge of collapse because of running into his mind, was finally overwhelmed by Kirishima's language offensive and turned around to counterattack. A dense cluster of sharp blades suddenly appeared on his arm, and then he swiped forward strongly and slashed Kirishima's face straight up. In the face of the oncoming attack, Kirishima didn't have the slightest timidity. He kept his whole body hardened and chose to be hard, with his right fist clenched and 5 fingers clenched, and his hard fist also slammed into the face of the gangster. Boom. Advertisement. There is no doubt that the blade on the B asterisk 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 D's body has no effect on Kirishima at all. Only a trace of sparks was drawn, but Kirishima's fist hit his face firmly, bursting out a burst of blood. Fog. I've been merciful, so behave and catch it, you black spear B asterisk 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 D. Kirishima punched the opponent with a punch. Kirishima looked at the little b asterisk 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 d who was beaten by himself, and said with a heavy tone. He is still a little worried about the eclipse ring. If the opponent has reinforcements, the eclipse ring that can't be used by quirk is probably not an opponent. Just when he wanted to go up and completely suppress the little b asterisk 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 d. The little b asterisk 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 d lying on the ground suddenly made a swallowing sound. As this crying, Kirishima has a headache, and why a big man shed tears when he is so good, which makes him really puzzled. This is unfair. My quirk can only extend a sharp blade within 10 centimeters of the body surface. It will be as long as a fruit knife. This is too unfair. This little b asterisk 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 d even had a crooked nose at this time. His tears and nose were running, and a few teeth seemed to be missing. This miserable look matched his confession, as if Kirishima was a big villain. Do you think I don't want to be the eldest brother? But I'm afraid? Just having the courage to shoot is already worthy of praise. Faced with this situation, Kirishima, who was dealing with the case for the first time, stepped up helplessly and helped him up. Look at you. I also said that I was afraid and crying. Since this is the case, I shouldn't participate in this. This is something illegal. So Kirishima is still too tender. If you change to a Masada here, you will definitely stun the B********** D first without saying a word, in case there are too many dreams at night. Of course, if it's a Masada, this little B******** D may have passed out in the first punch. I want to be a strong man supported by Kirishima to stand up. The B******* D lowered his head and muttered to himself. As long as you are with powerful people, you can change with them. As long as I mix with my eldest brother in them, I can achieve my strength. In the shadow that Kirishima couldn't see, the gangster's tears remained, while a medicine was dangling out of his cuffs and held tightly in his hands, seeming to be doing a psychological struggle. At last, it seemed that he had made up his mind, and the tears of the gangster stopped, and he threw off Kirishima's arm, then put the medicine on his neck and pushed it down hard. Those who have the ability to be heroes, don't just say this kind of sympathy. Kirishima, who was thrown away, finally saw the gangster's actions and was stunned. What did you just inject? Are you okay? However, Kirishima's inquiry only resulted in a cry of extreme pain. At this time, the whole body was twitching constantly, as if experiencing terrifying pain. The pupils of his eyes disappeared, and replaced by white eyes. What? The screams finally stopped slowly, as if all the strength of the whole body was hollowed out. Pippi. Numerous sharp blades popped out of his body frantically, and then quickly stretched forward. In a blink of an eye, the little B******* D's body became like a hedgehog wrapped in a sharp blade. Faced with such a sudden attack, Kirishima was also injured for the first time. The hardening of the shoulder was directly penetrated under the changed blade, and blood also flowed from the wound. This guy suddenly became so powerful. Is this what Jungta said before? Is it the drug that can increase the quirk burst? Clutching his shoulders, Kirishima started hardening again. He was only out of the range of the blade now. In order to prevent the other party from rioting, he also reserved more of his heart. Hey. At this time, the little B****** D had regained consciousness, and he looked at the changes that had taken place in his body, as well as the alleys that were pierced by the blade and turned into fragments, and his face showed an arrogant smile. Go back, everyone. Get out of the reach of this guy's sharp knife. Although there were not many passers-by in the surrounding area, there were also a few sparsely walking in the alley. The attack from the gangster just now made them directly limp to the ground. Seeing this scene, Kirishima was also a little anxious, but he also made a decision in his heart. He must be defeated here. Advertisement. You are so self-righteous. You still feel good about playing justice games? Big buddies have already told me that the era of heroes shit will soon fall apart. Like all nouveau riche, they suddenly gained this powerful force. The first thing the gangster did was not to escape, but the self-confidence swelled wildly. The next time is the era of the unwilling people like me. Get out of the stinky kid. Borrow your auspiciousness, I should be able to save the big brothers. He kept laughing wildly in his mouth, and his eyes were completely different from before. If the eyes of the little B****** D were depressed, now he is like a winning gambler, full of desire and madness. The countless blades on his body were like a fountain, all gathered together and pierced towards Kirishima's body. I was really underestimated. The other party's speech also ignited the anger in Kirishima's heart. He had been releasing water just now, and he was even looked down upon by the other party because of this. It's simply unforgivable. The fierce rage fought against each other, and Wuling passed Waru. This is the name Kirishima has given to his current strongest move, that is, he awakened during the sports festival and hardened his skin into a pair of armor. As for why this name is so obscure, maybe only he knows it. The appearance before was terrifying, but after launching this trick, Kirishima's appearance was completely separated from the human. Like a granite monster with sharp protrusions all over the body, even the hair was hardened and turned into with an indestructible spear. Activating this trick, Kirishima rushed up the tower as soon as he stepped in, and collided with the whirlwind of the gangster's blades, producing a symphony of metal impact. It hurts? I cut Kirishima's blade before, but now there is no achievement at all. Instead, it broke because of insufficient hardness. This also drove the skin and flesh attached to the little B****** D, causing him to cry out in pain. Men's hardening don't have to make small moves. Sure. Furious and stubborn fight to crack the slaughter. Kirishima's character is to move forward bravely, and his fighting style also continues his character. There is no skill at all, it is to overwhelm villains, and then directly use the big move. Resist the countless blades, Kirishima broke through their blockade. After getting close to the punks, a powerful straight punch hit the punk's abdomen like a siege hammer. Puff! After receiving a heavy blow, the gangster flew out like a rocket and slammed into the wall behind him, and all the blades on his body were retracted into his body due to poor control, so this time the impact is real. After struggling a few times, the gangster finally ran out of his last bit of strength, and passed out in a coma when his hands and feet were paralyzed. No more drama to sing. Kirishima also relieved and Wuling from passing Waru at this time, which was very physically exhausting. After confirming that villains had been in a coma, he was also relieved. Thank you so much, young man, it's amazing, I'm all fascinated. Passers-by who had not left before also stepped forward at this time and praised Kirishima. You fight that way to protect us, right? I have seen a lot of heroes over the years. Normally everyone will be afraid of this kind of blade. Thanks to you, we can be saved. Surrounded by some crazy passers-by, Kirishima was a little at a loss. Perhaps, this is why the hero's profession has so many restrictions and shoulders huge responsibilities. There are still people who are longing for it. Senior, are you okay? When rushing back to the previous scene, the police had already isolated the surrounding area. Kirishima looked at the celestial eclipse ring standing silently and asked with some concern. It's very uncomfortable, I can't activate the quirk, it's too painful for heroes. Pulling the brim of the hood, completely covering his expression, the tone of Tianqiwan was a bit erratic. Speaking of which, you protected me at the time. It seems that you were like a million, the kind of person who is as dazzling as the sun. If you say that, the senior who introduced me, you are also the sun. Really, you are really good. Facing Kirishima's words, Tianqiwan turned his voice a bit embarrassed. This is a powerful sentence. I don't know if it refers to Kirishima's strength or whether he can say this kind of unspeakable words in the public. Chapter 299 Ready to act advertisement the next morning. Kirishima, are you here too? Masada and Lagu arrived at Yayan's office early in the morning, and went to the local police station with Yayan and Million, where they unexpectedly saw their classmates. Well, I lived in Fat's office last night, and I was called over today for some reason. Masada, do you know what to do? Kirishima is now at a loss. He missed the tram back to Shangying because of his transcript last night. Fortunately, there are still many vacant rooms in the Fat office. He spent the night there. What's the action today? You'll know later. Masada and LVGU naturally knew that today is the day to encircle the Bashai Society of Death, but after thinking about the situation of the bad sister, they really couldn't bear to let Kirishima know. There are a large number of professional heroes gathered in the police station, and the scale may mean that the Battle of the Gods is more luxurious than it is now. Longju, Yayan, Fat not only have the famous professional heroes on the list, but also the local niche heroes, even Gran Torino and All Might are also on the scene. Ms. Aizawa, why are you here too? Suddenly, Jung Tai saw a familiar figure in the crowd, a black night walker, mummy bandage-like scarf, and unique dead fish eyes. It was his head teacher Aizawa Shota. I was called over temporarily, saying that I wanted to ask me for help. Hearing the shout of Mr. Aizawa turned around and said faintly, although I only know a general idea, I have also heard the wind. I'm still a little confused about what 8 Jai will come. Is that a code name? Advertisement. Seeing Aizawa Shota, Midori Valley and Kirishima also came together. Although they have seen a bigger scene, the densely packed professional heroes still makes them feel passionate. The guys in the Dead Way Bajai Club are planning a horrible thing, so everyone will gather together to summarize, and you guys are already in it. Fat turned his head and explained to Kirishima. Kirishima, are you also involved? That's amazing. Midori Valley sighed and said that he and Jungta were because they saved Kurogiri, and Kirishima was because of yesterday's bullet that invalidated the quirk. Just when a few people were chatting, on the other side, in the Bad Sisters ward. Masada, why are you here? Didn't you go to participate in the encirclement and suppression operation of the Dead Way Bajai Way? Yayorozu Behi Chacha did not participate in this incident this time, because the two of them had not run in with the office, so they did not participate for safety reasons. They had nothing to do today, so they wanted to visit the bad reason, but they didn't expect to see people in the ward that they shouldn't have seen. I'm crossing me. Sitting on the edge of the hospital bed, Masada turned around, grinned and said with a smile, leaving the two of them in a daze, with Yan Yi's expression on their faces. That's right, the justice in the ward is Himiko Toga. Last night, Masada went to the transition. My room was filled with a glass of blood. This amount was enough to make me transformed for a whole day, so this morning, I became a Masada. According to Masada, the statement came to the ward in his arms. For flowers, that said, Masada is worried about the League of Villains waiting for an opportunity to invade, so I let you become his appearance as a deterrent? Advertisement. After listening to my explanation, Yayorozu nodded secretly. Indeed, in the hearts of the League of Villains, Masada has become a hurdle that cannot be passed. Their several actions have failed, and without exception, they are all ruined by Masada. Hands. The existence of Masada itself has a great influence on them. 0. Let's not talk about it, bad sister, we brought a fruit basket. Gathering his thoughts, Yayorozu took out the gift basket he bought from behind, which was filled with all kinds of fruits. Do you have any fruits that you like to eat? Let your sister guess what? It's a peach, right? After all, a bad sister is as cute as a peach. Cha-Cha squatted down, aligning her sight with the bad reason, and took out a peach from the fruit basket, and said kindly, Bad reason is now sitting on the bed obediently, although there are still some bandages on his body, but it is still seen. Loved little lowly. Apple. Taste. Perceiving the bad reason's disgusting look at Peach, Cha-Cha only felt that her heart was broken. Her favorite fruit was peaches, and originally wanted to use this to get close to the bad reason. Come here, my sister sings to feed you apples, ah. When Cha-Cha was petrified, Yaoyorozu had already cut the apples and started to feed the apples. Seeing Xiaoluo eating apples, her heart seemed to be melted. Long. Although Chapter 300 Deployment Meeting Advertisement. Thanks to the information provided by you, the investigation has made great progress. In the conference room of the police station, Yayan sat on the main seat and spoke. Today, we are here to make everyone aware of the dangers of this organization, and to discuss how to kill them all at once. Following Yayan's words, the expressions of heroes of various professions also became serious. Masada and others also shut their mouths and stopped talking, and sat quietly in their chairs. After receiving Yayan's signal, the assistant of his office, the centipede gentleman, picked up a stack of documents and said, "We have conducted a follow-up investigation on the Bajai Way. In the recent, April 20th, year, the frequency of contact between the Bajai Way and people outside the group and other groups that also mixed in the Grey Business District has increased significantly. It can be inferred from this that they plan to accumulate capital during the tour and expand the scale of the organization. Shortly after we started the investigation, it was discovered that he had contact with one of the members of the League of Villains, Fenbei Haruhito, named twice, but the other party was very alert, which led to the failure of the tracking operation. Fortunately, he was assisted by the police. Let us be able to confirm that there have been conflicts between the two organizations. Speaking of the League of Villains, I also heard the news. I heard that Kurogiri appeared elsewhere during this time." Gran Torino said thoughtfully after hearing the words of the entertaining gentleman. "Well, because of this, we decided to ask everyone from NH for help." NH? Hearing this word, Jung murmured too curiously. The abbreviation of Hero S. To put it bluntly, it is a website that can only be used by people with a professional Hero S. license. Advertisement. Seeing that the cute schoolboy has doubts if she is kind enough, she went to the side of Masada and explained. It is said that you can check all the activity reports of Hero S. across the country, and you can also submit applications directly, so that Hero who has a convenient quirk S. provide help. Oh, it seems that our current temporary license is not enough. Masada nodded clearly. It was indeed the first time he came into contact with this website. Perhaps he would talk about it in the usual class, but would Masada listen to it? I said, even Shangying's students are still little ghosts. Shouldn't they participate in this kind of discussion? Seeing Masada and Kai Senpei, who were whispering below, a face-to-face professional Hero S. spoke dissatisfied. In the final analysis, jealousy is the original sin. This professional Hero S. is not as capable as they are. After participating in this operation this time, he has been pleasantly surprised. If it were not for his better understanding of the local area, his strength, it was impossible to participate in this operation at all. Hey, what are you talking about? These little ghosts in your mouth are the pillars of the future. After hearing this, Fat felt unhappy, and stood up with an, "Ah," and the huge body directly shook the chair. And they are super important witnesses. Masada didn't have much to say about this kind of person. Anyway, his strength didn't need his recognition at all. As long as he knew a little about Masada's resume, it was impossible to underestimate him. Feeling that the atmosphere is a little bit wrong, Yi Yan quickly continued with the words of the entertaining gentleman before. In the past Bachai, there was a major suspicion that the trafficking of illegal drugs was one of the sources of funds for the organization, so I invited Hero S., who has a deep understanding of illegal drug transactions, to assist in the operation. I have cleaned up a lot of this kind of drug sellers before. The Hero S. in Yi's eyes is fat, and his current expression is also very gloomy. Obviously he hates the practice of the Bajai society. Just a few days ago, the fierce anger of Lai Shangdu's maiden battle, a drug that I have never seen before, was injected into the body of Tianxiwan. Advertisement. While talking, Fat's right hand stretched out, suddenly clenched a fist, and his eyebrows were also lowered. Can quirk destroy the drug? The few people sitting on the news just learned the news. In an instant, everyone, including Masada, looked at Aizawa Shota, who was sitting on the chair without saying a word. There is no way. Speaking of eliminating quirks, the famous Eraserhead is really popular, and among the known quirks, it seems that only Mr. Aizawa can do this. Well, ring you all right, Million, a good friend of Tianxiwan, heard the news and immediately got up from his seat and asked anxiously. However, the Sky Eclipse ring still stared at the dead fisheye in 4.8, faintly stretched out an arm, and directly transformed into the shape of a cow's hoof. Well, after waking up, the quirk recovered. Look at this strong hooves. If it can be recovered, there is no problem, and it will not become a fatal injury. It is just an enhanced version of Eraser quirk. The local professional Hero S. that jumped out before, this time again to show his sense of existence, as everyone knows that his actions can only make everyone feel bored. This should be different from my elimination. Sure enough, he was slapped in the face by Mr. Aizawa soon. Although Chapter 301 Weird Bullet Advertisement, I'm not attacking someone else's quirk. Aizawa Shota loosened the bib and weapon around his neck slightly, stretched out his right index finger and clicked on his chin, and said thoughtfully. The reason for the quirk is that the basic human body combines with a certain kind of special silver through +A, resulting in unique physiological changes. And this plusa can also be called the quirk factor. This knowledge is relatively unpopular in schools, unless it is a teacher like him who works in Shangying High School. The rest may really be unheard of. While organizing his own words, Aizawa Shota looked around at the people sitting in the conference room, seeming to be afraid that some people would not understand. After a while, he gave an example. It's like you suddenly have a tail with this tail, and the ability to operate the tail. This is a quirk. And I can only make the quirk factors in the body temporarily stop activity, but I can't directly harm them. Speaking of this, most of the people present have already understood. After all, Aizawa Shota's quirk is not a secret in these people's eyes. Only when he looks at the other party with his eyes directly, the other party's quirk will disappear. The situation in Tianshuan is obviously the opposite this time. He was only, shallowly, hit by a bullet. For one of the famous Big Three in Shangying High School, such an injury may really even be an injury. Not really. But it was such a common thing that made his quirk completely invalid. This is not what Aizawa Shota did. Stopping the quirk factor from activity is more like destroying the quirk factor completely. For a promising hero, such an accident is very fatal. At that time, Tianshuan racked his brains and tried various methods, but couldn't motivate himself to quirk like an arm. If it wasn't for Kirishima to show his bravery at the time, and the hardened quirk happened to restrain the pistol, it would be hard to say who won in that battle. After all, putting aside the quirk, hero, is just a special soldier who has been trained in combat and is responsive. People like AFO and Masada who have a powerful body that is difficult for ordinary people to measure will always be a minority. Or it's not an exaggeration to choose one from 1,000 miles. Hero, alone is already a very powerful talent selected from ordinary people. Advertisement in Masada is the one standing at the top of the hero, pyramid. After the robbery was over, we immediately took the ring to the hospital for a full body examination. Fat took the stubbornness and put his thick palms on the conference table, speaking in a low voice, but his slightly trembling arms and the table that made a crunching sound because of being overwhelmed all indicated that he was not in a mood, as calm as he is on the surface. After testing by the hospital, the results confirmed that the quirk factor of the ring was indeed harmed. Fortunately, now the quirk factor has been naturally fixed. Yes, the quirk factor can also be repaired by itself. After all, no matter how mysterious this thing is, no matter how it breaks human cognition, it is still a part of the human body. More advanced medical institutions have pointed out that, in fact, the quirk factor is a unique cell in some people. Since it is a cell, it will naturally regenerate. This is why a person's quirk may be very weak when he is a child, but with the increase of age, the power of the quirk will continue to strengthen. The so-called exercise is exactly the same. This is the same as muscle training, and Masada has a great say in this matter. Have you analyzed the foreign body injected into the human body? Yayan sat in the first place, supporting his chin with both hands and asked. It was the first time he had heard of such a weird thing. Huan's body is not abnormal, it's just being attacked purely quirk. The gunman was always tight-lipped, the murder weapon pistol was severely damaged, and all the ammunition was shot. Hearing these words of Fat, everyone's heart sank. The most important exhibits were gone. Didn't this matter have become an unsolved mystery? Kirishima lowered his head even more embarrassedly. He was the first person responsible for participating in this matter. Seeing this, Masato couldn't stand it anymore. When Kirishima was in the fight, he was very passionate. It can be said that it is easy to get up. Why did he get shy when he ran into such a more formal scene? However, we also found a missing bullet from the scene. It may have fallen from the murderer's impatience. Advertisement. It didn't take long for everyone to lose, and the voice of Fat changed, which brought things a turning point. Because I was busy graduating, I was constantly looking for a job after graduation. After I found a job, I immediately entered the state of work. The matter of writing a book was completely shelved. Masada clenched his fists even more, and there was even a red light looming on the special gloves. Obviously, he was trying his best to contain his mood. Puff. Other students present who knew some inside information, such as Yayorozu Wan and senior sister, also covered their mouths in disbelief. The so-called bullet that can invalidate quirk is basically made of bad blood. But now I have decided not to be a salted fish. After thinking about it carefully, in fact, I still have a certain interest in writing books. I can adjust all kinds of bad moods at work. Of course, the update may not be fast, because I am free every day. I really don't have too much time, and if I want to lose weight, I have to go to the gym to check in. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Speaking of this, Fat's usual kind expression has become extremely awkward, showing a side that he doesn't often show up. The breath of relief in everyone's heart is also abruptly raised by Fat's words. In other words, have you all played Gending game? I have played a few in the past few days, and I feel hooked in an instant. I kind of want to write a book of this type. The previous guesses finally became reality, and the anger in Masada's heart was naturally beyond words. Without incarnation of a humanity bomb, it was already the result of his extreme restraint. Asterisk. The things in the bullet are human blood and cells. But in the results of the investigation of the bullets inside, something that makes people uncomfortable appeared. Also, the recent chapters are so serious that I feel like I'm going to be blocked. Chapter 302 Lava Demon Advertisement. Is this really something that can happen in this world? After some private whispers, Wachu, Lagu and others also learned the truth of the matter from their companions. Obviously, they, who have not yet stepped out of the ivory tower of the school, could not believe such a tragic thing at all. It's no wonder that Jungtae has such a big fire. Kirishima was sitting next to Jungta, and had the most say in the sudden outbreak of Jungta just now. On weekdays, Masada has a very good temper. He has never seen him getting angry, even if it is a joke among his classmates. It is the first time Kirishima has seen such a situation. At that time, he even felt that he had hallucinations, as if he was in a magma pool. The surrounding magma seemed to come alive, boiling continuously, emitting a pungent sulfur smell and black eyes. He is like an insignificant and tiny bubble, rolling tremblingly here, for fear of being swept into the pool by the sudden wave of magma, and annihilated. And Jung Tai gave him the feeling that he was sitting in this blood-red lava pool. This is also one of Masada Conqueror's Haki's continued maturity. From the previous stun villains, it can even give people an illusion. This is the obvious increase in strength brought by his continuous practice during this period of 423, coupled with the increase in physical strength. Although I haven't used it deliberately, this time because of excessive anger, Masada still inadvertently revealed this power. It can be expected that if Masada continues to develop in this direction, he may be able to pull the spirit of villains into the bottom of the bottomless magma pool with a single thought, and it will be completely burned out, and it will be fatal from the spiritual level. Blow. It's really getting stronger. At that moment, even I shuddered. As a hero, with outstanding perception ability, Ye didn't ignore the changes in the conference room just now. As a think tank, Ye's heart is extremely powerful. After all, his fighting ability is not particularly outstanding. If he faces a powerful villains and becomes confused, he doesn't need to fight at all. Moreover, his foreseeing the future quirk has also implicitly brought strong confidence to Yein. Advertisement, however, even his body shook slightly just now. It is conceivable that the weaker CDEI hero in the conference room. Are young people so scary nowadays? Have I offended him in any way before? The local hero who had been clamoring before and showing his sense of existence, was obviously scared under the momentum just now, and now he is thinking whether he has done anything wrong, and if he has done something wrong, there is nothing wrong. The party measures. In fact, he really thinks too much. For a person who has never even appeared in his name, he can also be said to be a proper dragon set, cannon fodder, and put on the battlefield as the first person to die. Masada really did not let go, in the heart. It seems that you are already aware of this. After calming down for a while, Yain said, obviously, the scum of the dead Wei Bajai Wei has used the quirk of the solver to continuously destroy the bad body and regroup, and make this kind of bullet. The bad reason is just a child under 10 years old. What's more, the bad reason is that the granddaughter of the old patriarch of the Bajai society and the adopted daughter of Jij in name have this relationship, and Jij can still get rid of it. Obviously, Shizaki's dream of restoring the deadly Bashai association has been distorted. Distorted to the point that he has used all means to achieve this goal, and even gave up those things that should be a human. Morality, emotion, conscience. Under the management of Jij, the formerly prestigious and reputed to be a knight in the local dead Wei Bajai Wei has become a veritable criminal group. Fortunately, I don't know why. The original cause is the core of the recovery plan of the 8th Desperate Society. The evil little sister herself was inexplicably brought out by Kurogiri, who was proliferated by twice. It may be that the dead Handlewood also learned the bad reason quirk from some channels, and even the horror of this kind of quirk, so he first started to be strong, and came to draw a salary from the bottom of the pot, and stole the bad reason from the dead evil 8 studios. Chisaki was caught off guard, and could also use bad quirks to accomplish his goal. After all, Shigaraki and Jisaki are not even superficial brothers, they can only be regarded as a cooperative relationship. Unfortunately, the location of the transmission of the pirated Kurogiri is a coincidence. It is near Masada and was caught by observation Haki of Masada. Under the ruthless magma, it is too late to send the bad reason away again. It was melted by the hot magma. The bad reason also benefited from this series of operations, and was able to escape from the magic cave, and is now receiving the best treatment both psychologically and physiologically, in a hospital under the Hero Association. Advertisement. These bullets have only been discovered in this incident. We don't know whether they have spread on a large scale. There was a white light on Yain's eyes at this time, preventing others from seeing his inner thoughts on the surface. Whether he will actually sell it is still unknown, but judging from all the riots in the city at this stage, the effect should not be complete. And this bullet should also be in the experimental stage. After all, it only eliminated the quirk of the ring for one night. Aizawa Shota also had a serious face. With the scar on his eyes, it looked a little awe at this time. After listening to the analysis of the two, Lagu, who was very active, immediately had a thought in his mind, and couldn't help but blurt out. But if these bullets are used as samples and taken by Chisaki to recruit troops and horses, then I am afraid that Shohui Basai will become a gang that is even more terrifying than the alliance of the enemy. The audience was silent. If Green Valley's words really become a reality, then this is simply a catastrophe. A catastrophe of society constructed by the hero's system. At that time, it will not be such a small fight, but the turmoil of the entire society, and even the foundation of this country will be severely damaged. Not so much. When everyone was meditating and thinking about the seriousness of the matter, a low voice broke the dead silence. A pair of eyes looked in the direction of the sound source, and a tall figure with a cloak and arms around his chest appeared in their pupils. Not enough. Repeated the previous words on one side again, this time Masada said firmly in a firm tone. Not to mention that the bad reason has escaped, and Jizaki has no foundation. Sooner or later, there will be a limit to the inventory that depends on him. Even if he has any tricks, I will smash his face fiercely with my fist. Chapter 303 Yan's Refusal Advertisement. This is our biggest advantage now. Yi Yan said in a hurry. Sing Wei Ba Jai Wei has lost its greatest support, but it is precisely because of this that their danger has risen extremely. Menzi can bite people if he is in a hurry, and the dead Wei Ba Jai Club is not a weak rabbit, but a group of hungry wild wolves. Yan's words also touched everyone's hearts. Indeed, although it seems that the Death Wei Ba Jai Society has not made any major moves, it seems to be forcibly suppressing the disappearance of bad reasons. However, this is only the calm on the surface, and the current Ba Jai Society of Death is probably a bomb that is on the verge of exploding, ready to show teeth like the hero's at any time. Then the most important thing now is to quickly find their lair and hit them by surprise. This is probably the best chance to destroy this criminal group. Longju said with a touch of her dragon claw-like bangs with his hand. Arrive. Yes, the problem lies here. At the moment when the opponent's specific plan is not clear, if the villains cannot be completely defeated at one time, it will leave the opponent with a chance to counterattack. While Yan was talking, he swiped a few times on the tablet computer in front of him with his fingers, and then slowly lowered a screen behind him, and a map was displayed on it. So we have done our best to find out the organizations and groups that have been in contact with the Bajai Society, as well as the land under the name of the Bajai Society. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Yan to move so fast and did so much preparation work when they didn't know it. I saw red dots on the screen with red crosses. I'm afraid these are the results of Yan's investigation. I hope everyone can investigate these suspected places separately, so as to find out the places that may be used as a base by the Bajai Association. Hearing this, everyone here suddenly realized. After all, it is not only the famous hero's who were invited this time, but even a lot of unknown niche hero's are also on the list of invitations. According to the difficulty of this task, they were not qualified to join this meeting. Everyone here has their own activity area. You can refer to the available points on the map for corresponding investigation. With the end of Yan's words, the conference room was filled with discussions. Although everyone came from different areas, one thing was the same. They all hoped to make a difference in this action. Slap, slap. In the noisy environment, Aizawa Shota suddenly stood up and clapped her hands. Such an uncomfortable voice naturally attracted the attention of the hero's. Seeing that his purpose was achieved, Aizawa Shota slowly said. Advertisement. By the way, Yan, can't you directly use your ability to see our future? Anyway, all of us are going to investigate, so surely someone will find the correct base location, right? I'm afraid that if you continue to drag on like this, the other party will be able to react. Hearing what Aizawa-sensei said, Masada couldn't help laughing. He knows the limitations of the Night Eye quirk, that is, it can only be activated once a day, and it can only last for an hour at a time. Moreover, as All Might's former assistant, the biggest Okui, insisted on the hero's operation after All Might was injured. Why did Yan directly fall out with All Might? I am too guessing that it must be because Yan seed All Might's future. This future must not be very good. Therefore, I am afraid that Yan is very resistant to using his quirk on his teammates, and it can even be said to be terrified. What if what he sees is not finding the stronghold of the dead Wei Ba Jai Wei, but the death of his teammate? However, since Shanta has descended into this world now, and has obtained a stronger power than All Might at the time, then his responsibility, Shanta can naturally also be carried down by himself. Sure enough, after listening to Aizawa Shota's words, Yan was silent for a moment, and then told everyone the reason. Even if the Quirk Bazaar Nameless Dragon set has repeatedly emphasized that he is the man of choice, no matter what the danger is, he can turn good. Yan never let go. Anyway, please help me. At the end of the meeting, Yan sent the information about the Bazaar Society of Death to each hero's to prevent errors due to non-sharing of information. At night, the dormitory of Shangying High School. A group of Class A students who followed their tutor to the meeting are now gathered in the lobby on the first floor. For flowers, I didn't expect such a thing to happen. I thought it was just an ordinary off-campus practice, but came into contact with such a vicious incident halfway through, and the students' hearts are undoubtedly very complicated. Advertisement. Even Masada's face at this time also has a touch of solemnity. Although his strength can now be said to be extremely powerful, in this world with all kinds of strange quirks, who can say that he is truly invincible? Don't be sure, there are people in the 8th chamber of death that can restrain him. Part of the arrogant performance in the meeting was self-confidence, and the other part was to dilute the bleak atmosphere in the meeting. If there is no morale before the war, it will be no different from the fish to be slaughtered on the sticky board. You are going to open a midnight party. Are you going to spend the night? Mr. Aizawa, who had been prepared to take a rest, couldn't help covering his forehead when he saw the brightly lit public area, and walked over and said helplessly. No teacher, we just want to figure out how to solve this matter. The upright character Lagu saw the teacher approaching, and instinctively stood up and replied loudly. Even if you say so, but apart from Masada, I am afraid that the 5 of you will not be assigned any important tasks. That's right, besides Masada, Yaoyorozuman, Ochako, Wabuki, Midori Valley, and Kirishima also attended the meeting. Although the strength of several people is already among the leaders of their peers, this is only a combat ability. Compared with the experienced professional hero, they're still newcomers when actually performing tasks. Masada is the old god sitting in the position. Needless to say, at the moment of All Might retiring, the AFO who captured the AFO is the person with the #1 combat power in the face. It is impossible for the hero's association to release it. He doesn't use it. In other words, he is the main force of this mission. Then, tell me what you think. Without agreeing or denying Midori Valley, Mr. Aizawa just calmly asked everyone's opinions. I'm going with Masada, my strength is enough to protect myself. The first speaker is Yayuro Zubai. Her current combat effectiveness cannot be underestimated. Her Nirvana, heavy firepower armor, is a veritable fighter machine. Chapter 304 Chisaki's Helper Advertisement. I also need to go. Cha-Cha was not to be outdone, and immediately after Yayorozu Wan said, I will never withdraw from this operation after learning about the evils of the Bajai Society. Asui. Since the teacher didn't say that I can't participate, I really want to help. I can't let go of these bad guys who hurt my sister. Kirishima. You have to participate, I'm not the kind of coward who escapes. Green Valley. I think that since the professional hero, has allowed us to participate in the conference, it means that our strength has been recognized, and just like Asui said, I absolutely cannot tolerate such a group to continue do evil. Seeing the blood and righteous indignation of the Class A students, Mr. Aizawa is also aware. As their old, 4-2-3, teacher and life instructor, he is one of the people who know the character of the classmates best. He would find it strange that everyone in the class really wanted to withdraw from this operation. I understand what you guys think. Since everyone knows it, it is naturally the best. But your task is only to cooperate with professional hero, once the situation changes or encounters a crisis. You must retreat immediately. Clear. In the dimly lit room, only an old electric lamp gave off an old halo, dispelling the boundless darkness. How is the layout done outside? A dull voice with some hoarseness came from the room, as if talking through a mask. The owner of the voice was sitting on a sofa, half of the figure was in the dark, and the shadow was projected on the wall by the light of the electric lamp, infinitely stretched, like a devil who chooses to eat. Advertisement. Everything has been prepared, and the transfer of the base is very smooth. The hero's side did not notice our actions this time because of the intelligence provided by the enemy's joint. Outside the door, a person with a beak mask reported respectfully. It seems that the enemy's joint plan is not small, and even the hero's association has their internal responses. Shizaki leaned Erlang's legs and fiddled with the nails on his hands, seemingly speaking casually, but in fact, his voice was full of anger. Obviously, the ill-founded disappearance made him realize that this must be the ghost of the enemy's coalition. However, Kurogiri and Twice have been under the surveillance of the Shohui Bazewi, and they can't even hide from him when they wash and sleep, and Shisaki does not dare to act like them. After all, he is still in the period of cooperation with the enemy, and he has many places to rely on the enemy's alliance. In this case, is it a good thing to do it? Shizaki carefully took care of his hands to prevent any blemishes on them, and glanced at the beak mask man outside the door from the corner of his eyes, muttering to himself speaking of. Yes, Shizaki's hands are like a piece of uncut but rounded beautiful jade, without the slightest dead skin on it, and no thorns on the nails. Even the nails are as good as they are measured, and the length is extremely short, tidy. It seemed that he felt the anger emanating from Shizaki's body, and the man in the beak mask was stunned in place, trembling, unable to speak a word. Although he has just taken up the post of the microphone, he also knows that the temper of the young master of Shiwei Bajai, who is in charge of Chi, is not good. Think about the previous microphone and you will understand they often can't live for too long, once they get angry. Chisaki is a dead end. But fortunately, Shizaki didn't go into a big fight this time, but suppressed his anger. Although the League of Villains was showing off or even threatening him naked, it did help him a lot. If there was no League of Villains helped him with the inside and outside, and his plan leaked the news, so all his previous work would be burned. Due to the bizarre disappearance of the bad reason, the things that carry his beliefs quirk eliminates the bullets, and can no longer continue to produce, and the dream of letting the world's hero disappear is also shattered, and the dead wood can be said to have reached the cliff. At the end of the day, all means have been used. If Haruzuki knew that the one who stole the bad reason was under his nose, Kurogiri of the League of Villains, then he would be the first to use Kurogiri to perform the operation. Advertisement. However, due to the perfect cooperation between Kurogiri and Twice, the extremely confident Haruzuki believes that under his own supervision, this kind of thing will not happen, which has caused him to still work stupidly with the League of Villains. I have to say that being too smart is sometimes also a bad thing. And now, Shisaki has passed through various underground channels and contacted the person who inherited most of AFO's legacy, and was also AFO's right-hand man, Nishio Hunter. As the AFO who has ruled the Dark Society for decades, if his legacy is exposed to the sun, it will be a terrifying number. It is not only money, but also the foundation accumulated in the Dark Society for decades. Nishio Hunter was able to develop genetic medicine in such a short period of time, on what basis? It is the wisdom and experience accumulated by the predecessors, and there is a huge amount of money. Although on the surface, the League of Villains seems to have inherited the will of the AFO, anyone with a higher status will understand that at this time, the League of Villains can only be regarded as a small fight, and Nishio Black is the AFO. After the battle with Masada, the biggest beneficiary, and Jisaki, who received his personal promise of help, naturally increased his confidence, and even because of the secret weapon 4.8 obtained from Hunter Nishio, he even dared to fight head-on. Of course, for the probability of success in the action, Chisaki still chose to avoid the war conservatively. No matter how confident he is, Masada is also recognized as the strongest combat power in the world, who has put an end to the rule of AFO. The outside game is almost ready, and the action can start. Leaning, Chisaki's self-talking voice echoed through the mask in the room, got up from the sofa, and stepped slowly into the darkness. It's so hard to go to work, I'm almost ready every day when I get home. Chapter 305 Attack. Advertisement. Is this the base camp of the Dead Wei Bajai Association? On a sunny day, the blue sky without white clouds made the sun exceptionally bright. On a tall building outside Tokyo, a hero, S, stood on the top of the building, overlooking the series of buildings below. As a Jidao organization, the Dewey Bajai Association had a glorious period before. From a small non-governmental organization to a behemoth, the real estate industry is naturally involved, and there are definitely many involved. This piece of construction industry can see the bottom of the Dead Uncle Bajai Club. In Tokyo, where the land is rich in gold, even in the suburbs, it has such a large piece of land, and it is not used to build high-rise buildings, but old-fashioned Japanese buildings. This is an extremely extravagant behavior in the eyes of others. People come and go on the roads interspersed in the buildings, most of them wearing kimonos. People are shopping lively and communicating with each other, just like a large-scale village. Okay, depending on the situation, the Dead Wei Bajai Club hasn't realized that they are in a catastrophe. I will hit them by surprise today. 23 Hero, S, who is in charge of the Pathfinder, was delighted when he saw this and immediately took out the walkie-talkie report. A step-by-step promotion based on merit is the best choice. As this day finally here, in Yeyun's office, Hero, S, who participated in the action gathered here, and the small studio seemed a bit crowded. Looking around, a lot of well-known Hero, S, such as Green Valley, Longju, Fat, BIG3, etc., gathered here to prepare to carry out this action to annihilate the Bazaar Society. Of course, Masada will not be absent either. At this time, he hugs his chest, leans against the wall, and lowers the brim of his head to cover his eyes, as if he is fake. The atmosphere is so solemn and tense. In addition to Masada, several of Xiangying's students got together and talked quietly to share their inner anxiety with their peers, especially Asui. Her previous internship was a private detective, and she instantly converted to assist the Hero, S, in annihilation. Dewei Bajai Wei, especially unaccustomed. Although the strength of some students has reached the level of professional Hero, S, the school is still lacking in actual combat, so both experience and mentality are a lot worse, and the internship is to make up for this. A little bit. It was like Yayurozu 100. At this time, she looked at Jayata in anger and complained about why he didn't come to comfort herself. Obviously kissed. But Masada is also unspeakable. Don't look at him as if he is drowsy. In fact, he has been monitoring the neighborhood with observation hockey. Advertisement. This is also Yeyun's request, because the recent events have been too smooth, leading Ye to suspect that there might be someone in the Hero, S, association telling villains. Masada's sight, hearing, and appearance can monitor every movement of people, although it can't reach the level of listening to the sound of everything. If someone's psychology suddenly changes dramatically, he can still sense it. Everyone Hero, S, on the summit stage, the leader of the Hero, S, association is preaching the mobilization meeting. This time, even if the action is more brutal, it is a last resort. As soon as the other party has anything to move or resist, I beg you to deal with it. And also, special law enforcement in special times. Hearing this, Hero, S, in the audience was full of horror. This is to allow them to silence their mouths. It seems that the plan of the 8th Chamber of Death has already caused a huge threat to the government and even the entire society. Half an hour later, the Hero, S, came to the outskirts of Tokyo and gathered at the gate of the headquarters of the Shohui Basaikai. At this time, the sun had just risen, and taking advantage of this hazy sky, the Hero, S, easily got rid of the outer eyeliner. At the end, there are densely packed armed police, and a little further ahead are the students of Xiangying, that is, the Hero, S, trainees. In the front row, the main force of this action, the Hero, S. And at the front, there is only one person, wearing a red suit, a white cloak behind his back, and a black coat on his hands. Even in such an unbright environment, all faintly shed light. The figure of 1.85 meters is particularly obvious even in the crowd. The sturdy figure interprets the strength of his body. The straight standing posture, the embracing arms, the serious face and sharp eyes reveal it. Show his confidence in his own strength. Masada, when there is the wind of Admiral. It's a little weird here, in time it's still early, but it's too quiet for the sake of avoidance. Yayan stood behind Masada, helped his glasses and whispered. Advertisement. The sergeant of the police station immediately wanted to come forward and torture them. Since villains is lying in an ambush underground, they are bound to do a good job of organizing the people. Since the underground is all villains, there is no need for such trouble. The rest of the bugs are underground. A hero, quickly left the place and rushed to the big tree pointed out by Masada. After a minute, he returned with the villains in his hand. It's underground, it's not necessary. Closing his eyes slightly, observation hockey instantly enveloped Junta's side. However, fortunately, there are Masada's insights, which immediately helped them dispel their doubts. Otherwise, if you were caught off guard, it is very likely to damage the personnel here. Quickly judged the number and location of villains, and said to everyone in a low voice. I moved my shoulders, I was talking too casually. Humph. Little bugs. A faint voice sounded from the front, causing everyone's eyes to shift in an instant. Just kill them all. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Hearing what he said, Masada's eyes condensed, and through the densely packed buildings in front, in the dim, I saw that these buildings looked ordinary, but they were actually equipped with guards, and simple fortifications had been built. This is what they did not expect. Very well, immediately torture the whereabouts of villains and attack. The hero, couldn't help whispering that the Bajai will do defensive work around. They had expected it, but hiding in the ground was unexpected. There are 2 people on the roof on the right, 1 on the tree in front, and 2 people in the second villa on the left. 3 people are sleeping. Chapter 306. This is a stand-in attack, advertisement. Hey, Magma. This is not so good, if it gets caught by the media at that time. Behind him, Mr. Aizawa hurriedly took a step forward, and stretched out a hand to hold Masada's shoulder, his eyes full of anxiety. Although the Hero's Association has also stated clearly that there are exceptions to this action, in front of so many people, is it really good to violate the Hero's regulations? Feeling the heaviness of the palms on his shoulders, Masada felt warm, but instead of looking back, he took a firm step forward. He has never been a silent man, he is arrogant and domineering, but he also cares about the consequences of things. But at this moment, Masada really doesn't want to think. In the face of these scumbags who do things that are infuriating between humans and gods, if they want to be kind to them, it would be against his inner thoughts and run counter to his inner Tao. And in this way, his strength may be stagnant, Jizaki. His eyes suddenly sharpened, and he raised his head too slowly, looking at the silent house in front of him. Hiss. Aizawa Shota suddenly felt a scorching heat in his hand, took a breath, and quickly retracted his hand. It was the temperature of Masada who suddenly rose. No one knows what Masada is thinking at this time, and no one can fully understand his feelings at this time. In this chaotic era, dark forces from all over the world have emerged, and in the conflicts with Heroes, they have been constantly tempered and strengthened. Although All Might was born, this era was slightly contained by the power of one person. Masada buried AFO in prison again. But there are still countless evil people, like fierce beasts struggling, resisting everywhere. The red light on Masada's body gradually became vigorous, and the black smoke and pungent sulfur smell that followed were also permeating the streets, making those Heroes, who saw him fighting for the first time shocked. Big Spitfire. With a roar in his mouth, he lowered his waist and withdrew his arms in one go. In less than a second, Masada's right fist surged out a large amount of hot lava, and then spread all the way to the entire arm. I'm stronger again, I really don't know where the limit of this kid is. Aizawa Shota looked at the Masada who looked like a god descending to the earth, and silently took a step back to prevent being affected by the higher and higher temperature in front. Advertisement. Compared with before, Aizawa Shota, who has been a teacher for many years, can clearly feel that the magma is forming faster. The gigantic lava giant fist pressed against the door of the house with an unparalleled momentum, and the hot air alone made the respiratory tract painful. Boom. The gates and walls that had been fortified only lasted for a few tenths of a second under the impact of a lava fist, and they scattered into a pile of fragments, scattered in the yard, revealing the scene behind. Damn it, it was so exciting early in the morning. The smoke dissipated, and a huge figure appeared in the eyes of everyone. Like the cadres of the Deadly Bashai Association, this figure also wears a beak mask, and its height is at least 3 meters, and it is full of explosive muscles. Wearing a vest seemed to be for fear that others would not know his power. Live bottle power too. He can absorb the vitality of others through contact and make his body huge. The well-informed leader of the Heroes Association immediately recognized the identity of this brawny man and also revealed his abilities. Lock. Heroes, which resembles Lucio's dragon sleeve in Overwatch, immediately rushed out. His ability is to fix things, except creatures, that can be touched by the body. This is the stunt of Lock Heroes, the corresponding fixed level is max. When he was running, he slapped his hand on the ground and he threw a stone out. However, the stone did not fly out as commonly known, but stopped in midair. And Lock Hero S also stopped and stood in front of the large army. Knock, knock, knock. With a weird smile on his face, he kept tapping the rock that was stuck in midair with his fingers. So what is this guy doing so fast? Originally thought he was going to fight melee. Masada looked at the action of Lock Hero S with a speechless expression. No matter how you look at it, the quirk of Lock Hero S can be activated on the spot. He ran forward to be handsome or in the association. Showcase in front of the president. You kid, are you kidding me? Advertisement. The vitality of the bottle went on fire all of a sudden. When I saw you rushing over, I was already ready to fight, but what did you mean when you stopped suddenly? I took off my pants, so just show me this. And what do you want to do with that wretched expression in action? Is it such a heavy taste? Quick lifted. This is something the villain can only do. Whenever the villain feels that he has a chance to win, he will start to introduce his abilities like the protagonist, and then the protagonist will endure the humiliation and suddenly explode, combined with various information to crack the villain's ability. The last move defeated. When the bottle force was only 10 meters away from him, Lock Hero S finally read the skill bar. Show you the real power of my quirk. Pseudo. So when I give a certain object and apply a force, what will happen in the end? Seeing the moving bottle force getting closer and closer, the Lock Hero S also accelerated the rate of percussion. It doesn't need to be explained at all, even a fool can tell what you were thinking. Looking at a twirl of Roshan, who was still like a devil muscle, rushed over like himself. Lock Hero S didn't panic. Even the corners of his mouth curled slightly, revealing an expression of victory. The vigorous force didn't hesitate anymore. He squatted down and kicked his legs fiercely, and went out. Not only did he not panic, Lock Hero S even explained it. No way, it's really the Lock Hero S is too wretched. Asterisk. You may not know the meaning of my action. After all, looking at the way your brain is full of muscles, you will definitely not understand. Jung Tai silently complained in her heart, and rushed in the direction of the bottle force to prevent the force of the bottle from causing large-scale damage. There is no way, it's all from the Hero S association. Colleagues, want to show off, he can't stop it. My ability can immobilize all non-living bodies. This Lock Hero S is setting the flag. I was originally a black man, and he had a few dirty braids, sausage-like lips and bright white teeth, just like putting a bottle of old godmother on a cream cake. Plus a half-squatting body. The evil look in Hwei Mi's eyes is really easy to make people want to get crooked. Chapter 307. Nice luck. Advertisement. The great physicist Joule told us that energy is conserved. Just like burning fuel will release heat, climbing stairs will consume energy, and people will die if they don't eat. Even in this society full of weird quirks, this law still works. When the Lock Hero S releases the quirk, the stone is no longer bound by the quirk, and the forces previously applied to it are superimposed and burst out at this instant. This ordinary stone, which can be seen everywhere on the street, changed at this moment. Quantitative changes add up to form a qualitative change. At this moment, the speed of this stone even broke the sound barrier. It surpassed bullets, surpassed machine guns, and surpassed RPG. The huge sound when breaking through the sound barrier even temporarily deafened the people who were present, and the outer layer of the stone also glows and heats in the friction with the air, and gradually melts and even vaporizes, forming a layer of fiery red coat. The distance of just 10 meters came in an instant, and at such a speed, the power of the bottle had no time to dodge. Nice luck. Seeing that his stunt is about to hit, Lock Hero S poses excitedly. It's just that this pose is 423 points strange. Whether it's the hands folded into strange shapes or the deliberately tilted out of the village, it gives him a smell of demon burning. Did you make it? Seeing that the Lock Hero S has put on a pose of victory, the leader of the Hero S Association also slammed their punches and said excitedly. Sure enough, the Hero S Association is a large number of talented people, and the mere Ba Jai Association of the Dead is not an opponent of the Hero S Association at all. Originally, I was a little worried about whether this Igarashi Masada might be too strong, and eventually develop to the point where he would not obey the command. Now it seems that he has been worried too much. The live bottle force also blocked Masada's punch, even if he slightly underestimated his strength, then. Live bottle power is also 1/6 just to also know. The Lock Hero S defeated the power of the bottle and won without any suspense in the form of a spike. You can get Lock Hero S equals 2 live bottle power combining 1-2-2 formulas. We can get Lock Hero S 1/3 Masada. However, the Hero S in the Hero S Association can only be Lock Hero S. There are countless registered Hero S. As far as the chain head Hero S it is only one of the Hero S that is not particularly outstanding. From this point of view, what is there to be afraid of? Advertisement. Ha 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 ha. Hero S Association is the strongest. While thinking about it, the little leader of the Hero S Association even burst out laughing. Through his family relationship, he has just served in the Hero S Association, and he still doesn't know the true strength of each Hero S. And this time, he also used various means to get the leadership in his own hands. After all, if the action is successful, this is a great credit. The little leader's mind has already imagined that he is promoted and added, and he embraces the right and embraces the picture of the pinnacle of his life. Then, Lock Hero S flew past his head. Wow! The rapid speed brought huge wind pressure. The Lock Hero S mouth was filled with wind, and it could not be closed at all, and the tongue was also drooping outside. When passing by the little leader, some liquid splashed on him. His face awakened his dreams. What? The little leader was in shock. What happened just now? Where am I? What am I doing here? After 3 consecutive meals, he fell into contemplation again. Go back to before. Nice lock. Seeing the mini-pop flying over, the bottle force did not evade at all. Instead, it accelerated its speed and rushed past like a truck. Again, energy is conserved. The original mass is not a very large stone, and a lot of CDEI weight is consumed by friction in the air. According to E equals mc squared, the energy finally hitting the bottle of force is actually not too much. After all, this guy's body doesn't look like a normal person in any way, and may have undergone Nishio Hunter's biological transformation. Hunter Nishio is the one who inherited most of the AFO's legacy, including the most cutting-edge human biotechnology, coupled with his ambition to subvert the Hero's society, will be related to the deadly Basai. Not surprising at all. Leaning on his Roshan-like body, the power of the bottle also directly resisted the Hero's attack from the lock. Pia. Advertisement. The bedding was extremely long and the attack was extremely powerful, and finally hit the forearm that was also blocked by the live bottle force, punched a hole in it, and finally ran out of energy. Suddenly, the blood was dripping on the arm of Viking Lie. However, this is of no use. This amount of hemorrhage is simply a horror for him, who is huge. It's like you are stung by an ant, although it will bleed in pain, but is there any other effect on you? Therefore, Huobo Lie's body just paused slightly and then rushed forward again. The wild dog that can only bark, let me lie down obediently. Bang! Almost 3 Lock Hero S live bottle power also hit the Lock Hero S. The result was obvious. The Lock Hero S flew out without accident. Just like a broken sack, in the process of flying, Lock Hero S loses consciousness, so there is the previous scene. The little leader of the Hero's association was dumbfounded, and afterwards he felt the liquid on his face before realizing what had happened before. Nani. Not only that, after touching the Lock Hero's, the vile force instantly activated its own quirk, and absorbed the vitality of his body. Not only the volume was slightly expanded, even the wound on the arm was slowly healed. In just a few seconds, the scab had already formed. You brought so many people, you really agree with me. Not only were Hero's present, but there were also many police officers who did not have quirk. Hero's is mostly responsible for fighting and killing. The aftermath of an incident actually relies more on ordinary people without quirks. But now, these police officers have become a burden. The quirk of living bottle power can absorb the vitality of others through breathing. And now, so many police officers are becoming the source of his continuous vitality. You will never understand the power of the Dead Wei Ba Jai Club. With a roar, the police officers with the vigorous bottle power around them all fell down one by one, as if they had been sucked out of their strength. Chapter 308 Mutant Quirk Advertisement. This place is simply the best place to play my quirk. A steady stream of vitality gushes from the police officer's body, and even forms a substance, floating in the air if there is nothing, and then digging into the body of the living bottle Lie. You can absorb vitality through the skin? Masada was standing behind Huobo Lie at this time, and her eyes were a little serious when she looked at Huobo Lie. Obviously, the opponent's quirk must have been strengthened. The energy of others can be absorbed through the skin, which is different from what the information says. Even he himself felt as if he had some energy taken away from him. But fortunately, Masada's body is extremely powerful. This vitality has been absorbed, and there is no need to care about it. However, the situation is not optimistic now. The vitality of the bottle is also absorbing a lot of vitality. The body is rapidly growing at a speed that is visible to the naked eye, and the increase in this kind of body shape brings about a double increase in volume and destructive power. Soon, he became a monster taller than the surrounding buildings. It was like evolving from Agumon to Tyrannosaurus, completely changed its appearance. The huge body directly blocked the rising sun, casting a large shadow on the ground, and the originally dark sky was directly obscured. Not to mention those police officers who have been absorbed in their vitality and have basically lost their combat effectiveness. Even the weaker Hero's, looking at this monster, have lost their desire to fight. He absorbs vitality faster. Amidst the noise, a panicked voice was unusually obvious. Everyone was taken aback and felt it carefully, and found that it was indeed the case. After getting bigger, even the quirk has increased? Masada didn't dare to delay any longer. A large group of fire broke out from the soles of his feet, and the whole person rushed out like a rocket. Advertisement. It can't be delayed any longer, things will get bigger. Big Spitfire. Leaping up, Masada's arm instantly became elemental, and the viscous magma immediately surging and converged into a huge fist, which also smashed towards the live bottle force. The scorching lava made the surrounding temperature rise. Masada's side was like an oven, and the wind pressure brought by his fist made some fragments of magma splash and melted on the ground. Whole. Get out of here! Aizawa Shota, who knew Masada's mad fighting style, hurriedly shouted that if it was affected by Masada's attack, it would not be a fun thing. Needless to say, everyone who saw such a scene immediately dispersed. After a second, Masada and Huobo Lia were empty beside them, and the rest of the people retreated far away, forming one in the distance. Encircle the circle. Go away. For the first time, the power of the living bottle has absorbed so much energy, and for a while, he was full of confidence in his own strength. When he saw Masada's magma arm, he directly grabbed a wall with his hand, and took the wall as a weapon and swung it. Stand up. Laugh. Just like a volcanic eruption, the moment the magma collides with the wall, it spreads with terrifying heat, and it easily melts the wall. However, the attack is not over yet. Masada's large fire-breathing attack range is far more than that, and the terrifying impact force with enough power to burn the human body is also blasted toward the living bottle force. Boom. The huge magma arm narrowed the size gap between the two infinitely, breaking through the defense of the bottle of Leah, and the punch hit him firmly. Puff. Even with the vitality of the bottle whose strength has skyrocketed countless times, he still couldn't hold Masada's punch, and was knocked to the ground by the huge impact, spewing out a big mouthful of blood. And the blood immediately vaporized in the scorching environment, turning into a cloud of red mist. Ahem, he deserves to be the man who defeated AFO, he is so powerful. Although he received a heavy blow, the vitality of the bottle still did not suffer much damage, and he struggled to get up, and his injuries were slowly recovering. Advertisement: you can rely on this so-called vitality to form a state like speeding regeneration? Masada looked curiously at the live bottle Li Yi, who was half sitting on the ground, while squirting praise. For flowers, don't look down on people too much. Huo Li also raised his head fiercely, and the two fists touched each other, and the body seemed to have increased in a circle again, and rushed towards Masada. It was like burnt red iron tongs pierced into butter. Masada's fist easily penetrated the arm of the bottle of Lié. The magma that was originally constrained, at this time, is also like a wild horse that has run out, spewing wanton. There is no need for any fancy tricks at all. The fist of the vigorous bottle has no resistance at all in front of the high-temperature magma. The magma with a temperature of hundreds of degrees is enough to easily melt his fist into ashes. The living bottle power that has absorbed a lot of vitality, after being strengthened by the quirk, transforms the excess vitality into the body. Those who fight hand-to-hand are definitely the most restrained ability. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. My quirk, completely suppress you. You medicines are really good things, but I don't know if the sequelae are big. Magma. Magma soaring surging from Masada's body, just like the king of lava descended to the earth, the lava on Masada's body spurted out. It was a leap that was too fierce, and the whole person was like an arrow fired by a strong offensive crossbow. The fast speed can only see a red shadow in the eyes of others, and it is directly towards the live bottle force. The soaring fire light also enveloped the vitality of the bottle. In front of the sky full of magma, even if he was big enough, he was still maimed by this blow. Hey, how should I say, I like to fight with you guys who can only fight hand to hand. Masada's expression full of curiosity was completely mocking and contemptuous in the eyes of Huo Ping Li Yi. With a cry of pain, the tall and powerful body of the living bottle was directly blasted out, and the originally dilapidated ground was hit even more to pieces. Long. Seeing the madness of the live bottle force, Masada sighed. As long as he is still a carbon-based creature, he can't get rid of this. Chapter 309 Man-made volcano advertisement. Half of his body was attached to the hot lava. The hot, sticky lava was like a Tarsus, constantly burning his body's will. Damn it! Huobo Lie's face behind the mask was uncertain, and his whole body was trembling constantly. Even if he urged the quirk with all his strength, the continuous damage could not be recovered. Do you understand the gap between us? A miscellaneous fish like you, at any rate, I can count it a bit in my heart. Masada glanced at the shrinking vile Leah and said, Don't look down on people too much, young master is invincible. Huo Ping Li Yi's complexion was gloomy, struggling to get up from the ground, took a deep breath, and wanted to absorb the vitality of the people around him again. Vitality sucks, boom. A powerful punch, with terrifying lava directly blasted on the chest of 427, living bottle Li Yi. Heaven dog, the lava arm that was condensed to the extreme, penetrated the body of Violin Leah without mercy. Not only that, the high temperature directly damaged his internal organs, and most of the blood in his body evaporated in an instant. Slowly withdrew his arm, Zheng fell too much with the remaining magma on the wrestler, and looked at the live bottle lying on the ground with no sympathy in his eyes. He must be saved, even if the recovery girl is here, his life will not be restored. As for Harasaki's accomplices, Masada did not treat them as human beings at all. Hero, S, and the sheriff, please go back and retreat. I checked the injury of the lock Hero, S, and found that it wouldn't hurt his life. He adjusted his clothes too much, and said solemnly to the man behind him. Justice, you, Aizawa Shota quickly understood what Masada meant. Since I am afraid that there will be traps in the base of the Bajai Society of Death, Then don't take the usual path, just make away. Yes, that's what you think. After all, this action should be as soon as possible. Masada looked at the suspicious expressions of several people in front of him, and gave them a positive answer. Withdraw. Although he has some fighting power, it is definitely not enough to see the big guy in front of him. Advertisement therefore, everyone present also quietly retreated to the periphery. Since you can't make good assists, then you can be a teammate who doesn't drag you back, it's better than the pig team. Huh. Seeing that the irrelevant person had been away from my side, I was taking a deep breath. Next is the performance. Countless lava gushes from his body, and then continues to spin around Masada's right hand like a vortex, converging and condensing, and finally collecting his fist. Lava burst punch. The huge fist hit the ground of the base of the Bajai Society of the Dead. Boom. On the reinforced ground, in front of this huge impact force, a giant cobweb-like crack was instantly formed. The surrounding houses collapsed one after another, and the roots of the trees also rose up under the shaking of the ground. This is an earthquake. The people in the distance were caught off guard, and they were all following their feet, feeling the constant shaking of the ground, and their faces were full of shock. It's a monster. Even if I become huge, I can't create such a formation. Long Ju squatted slightly to lower his center of gravity to prevent falling, and said with emotion. She is most proud of her destructive power. Long Ju's quirk can turn himself into a giant dragon, and when he grows larger, his strength also doubles. Even the previous vitality can only reach her body shape after being completely transformed. Moreover, with the bonus of the giant dragon, the theoretical strength of Long Ju is higher than that of the living bottle. Of course, if you consider the battery life, the overall strength of the live bottle power that has been modified by the magic is to surpass that of Long Ju. However, in front of Masada, these seem to be nothing. His body was not huge, and he released the power that amazed Long Ju. And, this is just the beginning. Burst. With a low groan in Masada's mouth, the earth that had previously become a spiderweb started to shake again. This is the essence of this lava burst punch. The magma condensed to the extreme is directly driven into the ground, and then the endless high temperatures used to detonate the rocks under the ground, forming an artificial volcanic eruption. Advertisement in the swaying ground, there are more and more cracks, as if it has been unbearable and beginning to split. And in these dark cracks, there is faintly visible fire, and white steam leaks from the inside. In the next second, hot red magma gushed out from the crack. This area has completely turned into an ocean of magma. It's simply a natural disaster of movement. Even Green Valley, who is very clear about Masada's strength, still feels in his heart to see this scene at close range. This is different from his ONEFO RAL, One for All is the release of pure energy, while Masada transforms it into the power of nature. In terms of visual effects, the two are not comparable at all. Is this really a high school student? As the area covered by magma became larger and larger, everyone heard a muffled noise from the soles of their feet. But this time, the dead Wei Bajai will fall from the top of his head, it is magma. He originally wanted to make some small moves to make his rights more stable, but this time he completely dispelled this thought. This is not the kind of simple cave-in. Just punching a hole straight from the ground to their base camp, only Masada was able to do this. In the face of absolute power, power can't take the stage at all. What fell from the court was nothing but rocks. In this era of rampant quirks, there is really nothing to be afraid of. The little leader of the Hero's Association was frightened and sat on the ground. He has been spoiled, and he has never seen such a scene. The ground at the base camp of the 8th Chamber of Death actually collapsed. It saves a lot of trouble. Boom. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. If you break in step by step according to the rules, you must not only be careful to guard against the traps set by the Shohui Bajai Society, but also deal with their sneak attacks from time to time. Yayan didn't come into contact with the members of the dead Wei Bajai Wei, so he didn't see the future of their base camp. Masada, who was transformed into magma, emerged from the collapsed land and gradually turned back to humanity. No one will feel that the feeling of being poured from the beginning to the end by a puddle of magma. Can it be all right? As more and more parts collapsed, there were constant cry of pain from the depths of the earth. Others don't say whether 4.8 has this power or not, the live bottle power alone can make them eat a pot. Chapter 310 League of Villains in Action Advertisement. At the same time, the Hero's Association headquarters. This time, in the encirclement and suppression of the dead and the 8 Fast Association, the Hero's who stayed behind in the Hero's Association can be said to have come out of the nest under the call of an unknown leader. But not all Hero's will stay on standby in the association at all times. Most Hero's have their own Hero's firm and are active in their jurisdiction. Only by order will they come to the headquarters of the association. Just like Endeavor, Long Ju, and Yayan, they usually have enough tasks in their own office. How can they stay in the Hero's Association for a long time because they are too busy to be separated? Moreover, Hero's who can run a Hero's office on its own must be strong enough. After all, how can you manage it? When you encounter a battle, you still have to test your own practical skills. Therefore, Those Hero-s who are on standby in the Hero-s Association are basically the kind of Hero-s that have no relationship and their own strength is not very strong. Hey, the guys from the Hero-s Association definitely didn't think we would play this hand. On the 23rd side of the back of the association headquarters building, in a corner out of sunlight and surveillance, a slowly rotating black hole appeared out of thin air, and a foot stepped out of it. As the area of the black hole became larger and larger, the figure inside gradually appeared, and then as the black hole disappeared, the true face was revealed. Amazingly, Kurogiri and Twice, don't talk nonsense, finish the task as soon as possible. Looking at Twice, who was sick next to him, Kurogiri had a headache. In the League of Villains, Twice is his most difficult character to get along with. As for why they appear here, of course it depends on the complementarity of their two quirks. Same as the previous abduction schemes, Twice split the duplication of the two and stayed in the base of the Bashai Association of the Dead, and then the two of them were transferred through the quirk of Kurogiri without knowing it. Go. It can be said that Jij made a complete mistake by leaving the two of them in the aid desperate meeting. And the goal of League of Villains' action this time is naturally bad. Those who were undercover in the Bajai Club of Death, of course, understood the kind of drugs that can eliminate quirks, which rely on bad quirks or cells. Instead of cooperating with the Deadway Bajai Association, why can't they do it by themselves in the League of Villains? I have to say that Tamura Shigaraki is very ambitious now. Advertisement: he claims to be the orthodox heir to AFO, but he has not inherited the core assets of AFO, which almost drove him crazy. However, under the comfort of the League of Villains, he became more calm and his mind quickly matured. Before he has complete strength, he will no longer be exposed to the public, as eye-catching as before. He still understands the truth that the tree attracts the wind. So, taking advantage of the vision of the Hero-s Association to be completely attracted by the deadly Bazaoi, and even his most feared Igarashi Masato was dispatched, he did it. Huh? Are you talking about me? How old do you think you are? Hearing Kurogiri's whispered reprimand, Twice's schizophrenia was committed again, and he instantly transformed into another personality and turned towards Kurogiri. Kurogiri supported his forehead again, so he didn't like to perform tasks with this guy. Fortunately, although Twice has two personalities, he knows the priorities anyway. This time, the task of catching the bad reason is related to the development route of the League of Villains for a long time in the future. So after a few words, the two sneaked into the headquarters of the Hero-s Association. The little girl's ward is on the top floor of the inpatient department. Can you take us there directly? The Hero-s Association is also one of the representative institutions of this quirk society, and the headquarters building is naturally extremely magnificent. Defense and surveillance are definitely one-to-one. Fortunately, there is less monitoring in the fire escape, and Kurogiri uses his quirk to help them reduce a lot of trouble. No, I need the coordinates of the target location for a long distance, and you don't want half of your body to be on the floor when you come out. Kurogiri's quirk seems invincible, but it still has various shortcomings. First of all, long-distance movement requires purposeful coordinates. In other words, he must have been to that place before or have sufficient knowledge of that place. Second, he opens the portal very slowly. If he encounters a speed-type person, he may be defeated before he teleports at all. Third, when he was teleporting, he could not move, and that time was also his most vulnerable time. Advertisement: this is why they are now cautiously advancing in the fire escape. After a long, stair-climbing like ladder operation, the two finally reached the top floor of the building. The nurses in the hospital were all ordinary people, and the two easily avoided the nurse's course of action, and came to the location of the bad ward revealed by the wishful people in the association. Yoshi. Just rush in, and then return to the base. Twice has changed back to that funny character at this time, dancing like a child, of course. The premise is to ignore his muscles and funny jumpsuits. 427. Well, according to the news from the Deadway Bajai Association, that gang of Hero-s has already fought with Chisaki and the others, and they will definitely not be able to track us down for a while. Kurogiri nodded. They had reached the last level, and even the cautious he didn't think there would be any changes. Nestled at the corner of the stairs, the two took a step towards the bad ward. Crunch, however, before they could approach, the door of the ward suddenly opened by itself. A red shadow appeared in their vision. Hey, this is different from what I said. V=_= Twice, who had just stretched out a leg, immediately retracted his feet like a frightened rabbit, and roared constantly in his heart. Fear flashed in Kurogiri's eyes, and the whole person seemed to be stared at by something terrifying. Impossible, isn't this guy in the lair of the Deadway Bajai Way? This is the news sent back by our insider. The gap in the door gradually expanded, and the red was getting more and more dazzling, as if to occupy the eyes of the two of them. What appeared in their eyes turned out to be Masada Igarashi, who is far away in the suburbs, who is so majestic. Chapter 311 League of Villains is on the run advertisement. Hey, Kurogiri, this time things are getting bigger. Why is this guy staying here? Twice is panicked now, very panicked. He had watched the battle of the century between Masada and AFO in its entirety. Let him meet such a guy, he doesn't think he lives for a long time. As long as I am touched by this guy's magma, I can survive? Not necessarily, this is a hospital anyway, and the surrounding doctors should not be able to save their lives. If you are lucky, you should be able to get a small life back. Twice, whose inner activities are very rich, seems to have seen its end. Burns all over, necrosis of internal organs, lying in ICU for the rest of his life. Hey, Kurogiri, you have something to say? Seeing that his partner did not respond to him, Twice shook Kurogiri's body and turned his head to look at him. Twice can be seen stunned at this glance. Kurogiri is panicked now, very panicked, even panicked than Twice. The yellow flames in the eye sockets suddenly extinguished, and the black mist under the body did not spread around as usual, but all gathered towards the core and contracted together. He who was hiding in the corner had never felt that the light of the incandescent lamp above his head was so pale. Masada was too impressed by him. The first time I met was in Xiangying's gymnasium. They originally wanted to completely kill All Might and brought the most powerful Nomu, but they were brutally defeated by Waterloo under the hands of Masada. And he himself was punched severely by a magma fist, and he lay on the bed for several months. The second time, it was in a tavern, a base of the League of Villains. God knows how this Igarashi Shota found him. This time when I met, it is obvious that the opponent's strength has been greatly improved compared to the first time. Through his chest, if it weren't for advanced biotechnology, his little life would have been there at the time. Advertisement. When he woke up, he heard the news that AF0 was defeated by Jungta and then imprisoned. As AFO's effective lackey, I have heard of the terrifying strength and vitality of AFO. However, it was such an old monster who did not know how long he had lived, and the Dark Emperor who had gathered many quirks, was defeated by a high school student. This almost subverted his cognition. For a long time after that, he was extremely depressed. In the end, I also saw the shadow of AFO from Tamura Shigaraki, reinvigorated and prepared to assist Tamura Shigaraki to achieve a career. Then it's now. Since the split of Twice is not a clone, but a living person, his clone body is blown up, he has no feelings, the bad reason is rescued by the hero's association, or he past should be known within. But this is enough. 2 times in a row, almost died in the hands of the same person, this shadow is enough to accompany him through his life. Just seeing Masada's appearance, his body began to tremble uncontrollably. This is a kind of fear from instinct, from the trembling of the soul. Even if he hides in the blind spot of his vision, he still feels like a piglet to be slaughtered, and Masada is a butcher with a sharp butcher knife. Hurry up, before he notices this, hurry up. Looking at the Masada in front of him as if he was about to walk out of the ward, Kurogiri's heart was alarming. At this critical moment of life and death, a huge force broke out, and he directly dragged Twice all the way back to the fire exit, and then quickly opened the portal. This pressure actually caused him to break through the limit, and both his physical stamina and the speed of opening the portal were faster than before. But at this point in time, Kurogiri didn't even bother to think about these issues. He caught Twice and threw him into the portal, and then he merged into it, slowly disappearing into it. With the disappearance of the black hole, everything returned to peace, as if nothing had happened. And Masada slowly walked out of the door, stretched out, holding his face in both hands and making a shy look. Fortunately, there is no one here. If this scene is seen by others, Masada's fame will be completely ruined. This is of course not just 2, but Himiko Toga who drank the blood of just 2. Advertisement. How can a person like Yaen who is thinking of keeping secrets fail to consider the behavior of stealing the tower by the dead Wei Bajai society? As the most important bad reason, the security forces around you cannot be lacking. Sending Himiko Toga to transform into Jingtai to intimidate those Xiao is just the first line of defense. Without the portal of Kurogiri, the League of Villains will collapse without saying, but the vitality is still indispensable. In private, in the social circle of criminals in society, Masada was even given the title of Lava Demon. Not to mention the rest of Twice. Although his fist skills are not bad, his skills seem to be useless under the control of absolute strength. Kurogiri, who was terrified at the time, didn't expect Masada to have a power called seeing, hearing and coloring at all. At such a close distance, the perception of the two of them is as obvious as the light in the dark night. And the bad reason is next door. At this moment there is best genist sitting in town, this hero, who was almost maimed by AFO. The strength is also the top rank in hero, Hey, has it Zhao? Wu and Twice too. It's definitely not an opponent. Coupled with his magma quirk, you will die when you touch it, and you will be injured when you touch it. Although the people who fight with Masada have retained their lives, they have basically become disabled. Now he is not the one who lost all his power in the original book, but the All Might who can bloom and burn himself to the fullest. In the bad ward at the moment, All Might is sitting there on standby. It's just that these news are only known to the very core people. Obviously, the League of Villains development in the Hero's Association did not find out about this news. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. This is the body of the two of them. If they are left here, there is really no hope of running away. If Kurogiri and Twice entered the door, needless to say, they must have been beaten up. After all, the Masada who defeated AFO with her own power is a demon in the eyes of those criminals. Coupled with Masada's speed, It will definitely blow his head before Kurogiri can teleport. In fact, if Masada himself were here, they wouldn't even have a chance to escape. So, Kurogiri's escape is really a crooked beating. In addition to Himiko Toga, the Silver Anchor Spearhead, there are also many people who secretly protect bad things. Chapter 312 Abandoned in the Middle Clothes Advertisement. Uncle, do you think it's really useful for someone to arrange for us here? This can't even fly in. Himiko Toga, who stretched his waist, spoke lazily to All Might who was sitting in the ward.
Yes, in the eyes of Himiko Toga, All Might is just an ordinary uncle.
She has a weird personality and a sickly girl. Her attitude towards All Might is completely different from that of Lagu. But in front of Masada, she has always been very obedient, like a small animal. Of course, it made Masada feel a little palpitating when it was darkened. Go back to the other side. Accompanied by the screams of heaven and earth, the ground completely collapsed, forming a huge cavity. The dust dissipated and the underground scene was exposed to everyone. How is this possible? Aizawa Shota gave an incredible exclamation. The rest of the police officers also looked incredible, as if they had seen a ghost.
What appeared in their eyes was a huge sphere made of concrete.
And now that the shaking is over, the concrete ball has also cracked from the middle.
A group of figures appeared from inside. Smoke and no harm. 427 can't even escape this law.
Masada was also a little surprised, although he didn't think that his fist could completely wipe out the Bajai, but in his original expectation, it should be more than enough to kill half of the people. Unexpectedly, although all the miscellaneous fish were almost cleaned up, the core figures of the Dead Way Bajai Club came out of this concrete sphere unharmed.
Shweni Needle, Entering Changyi, Thieves of the Wild, Treasure Knot, and Chaos Shoulder Movement. All the well-known members of the Underworld organization were recognized.
Of course, Harasaki is among them. It seems that there is also a master on the other side. Is this the masterpiece of this Changyi? Advertisement. Standing on the edge of the pothole, Masada, who was standing on a high place, looked down at the people below with a playful look, turned his gaze over the head of the Daiwei Bajai Club, and muttered to himself curiously. Although he is small and inconspicuous, this guy named Jinzong Changji can mix with the head of such a big Jidao organization. He must have a few brushes. The quirk of Changji is very interesting. Mimicry, able to enter and freely manipulate inorganic matter. The previous big concrete ball was made by manipulating CDEI soil. I just don't know if he can enter the magma, but I think it's a bit hanged. After all, when entering Zhongyi to activate the quirk, he must first touch the object, and before he activates the quirk, it should be burned into coke by the magma. I said, Shisaki, are you just that capable? You still need to protect you? Is this the so-called underworld? Looking at Harasaki, who had a calm face and stood under the protection of a group of people, Masada said with a mocking expression on his face.
From the bottom of his heart, Shisaki is a mentally clean person. He thinks that everyone except him is dirty and unclean. However, at this moment, he is standing in the protection circle he has made up. It can be seen that he is still very towards Masada. The taboo.
In the face of Junta's provocation, Haruzaki did not get as furious as Junta imagined. According to the information given by the Hero's Association, Shizaki's temper is very irritable. The reason why Chisaki is calm at this time is naturally because he knows that Kurogiri and Twice are going to hijack bad reasons. Since Masada himself is here, there is no reason not to be unreasonable over there.
He who naively thought that the bad reason was hidden well, he didn't know that the League of Villains had secretly conspired to steal the bad reason and did it alone.
A-hole. Don't underestimate the underworld. The boss didn't say a word. The first one to jump up was Yuzhong Changji.
As the number one running dog under Ozaki, Joy Naka is loyal to Ozaki, and he is extremely sensitive to the topic of the underworld.
Furious, he took out a tube of medicine directly from his pocket, pulled out the plug with his mouth, and swallowed the light green medicine when he raised his head. Guru. Obviously, this is another black technology potion that can enhance quirk. After drinking the medicine, he seemed to have endured great pain. The whole body was bent down, like a cooked prawn. His hands were still convulsing constantly. Ah! A painful roar came from his mouth, but correspondingly, he did gain tremendous power. Advertisement. It only took a moment for him to blend into the ground under his feet. Then, the whole land began to shake, and the hard ground seemed to have turned into water at this moment, constantly rolling out waves. Young master, you go to a safe place first, I will stop them and buy time. Ruzhong Changyi's sharp voice echoed throughout the pit, making it difficult to distinguish his position. What happened? Is villains so powerful? The little leader, who had just been relieved from the noise of the previous noise, just ran to the pothole, and another follower fell to the ground, felt the shaking under his butt, and ran back again, surrounded by police officers. Are these villains and their quirks so powerful? Asui stared at the scene in front of him blankly, and couldn't help but doubt life. If such a small potion can raise the quirk to this level, then what is the point of their desperate training, developing nirvana skills, and increasing the strength of the quirk? After all, with the previous live bottle power and the current Changji, the increase in their quirk is obvious to the naked eye. Asui's words also reflected the aspirations of the rest of Class A. Even Lugu's face was full of confusion at this time. Don't think too much crookedly. Seeing and hearing the color slightly, Masada can roughly feel that there is something wrong with the atmosphere around him, and hastened to speak. This increase in quirk comes at a price. This kind of medicine is nothing more than an overdraft of the body, or even an overdraft of life, for temporary strengthening. The true strength must be steadfast and step by step. Even if Masada was a dead person, his physical strength was exchanged for sweat at the earliest time, not to mention the development of quirk. He suffered no less than any other person in Class A. It's the same with Big 3. Fortunately, Masada's words woke up everyone in Class A in time, which made Million, who was a little worried about the younger brothers and younger sisters, breathe a sigh of relief. Don't put me in your eyes. Seeing that Hero S started to whisper eagerly, Shinji couldn't sit still. Hidden in the concrete, he wrapped the entire ground, turned into a huge wave, and swept toward everyone on the ground, coming. Chapter 313 Stone Giant Murphy Advertisement. However, Chisaki and his other subordinates seemed to be very relieved of entering Zhongyi, or if they had other plans, they actually turned around and wanted to leave. Don't even want to run. You can't always let Masada show off alone. After so much training, we are now very strong. The actions of Chisaki and others naturally couldn't escape everyone's eyes. Kirishima jumped out immediately, covered in rock-like armor, and was about to rush towards Chisaki's direction. Go away, however, Shinji Ruzhong didn't give him this opportunity at all. A huge arm split into the monstrous concrete wave, and it swung directly towards Kirishima, who had jumped up. Bang! Fortunately, what jumped out was that Kirishima was no one else. Kirishima, who was quick to come to the ground, was indeed a genuine iron-headed baby. The sound of gold and iron intersected between the head and the concrete. However, relying on the strength of Kirishima's jumping up alone, it can't be compared with the Shinji who has manipulated so much concrete at this time. After all, the tonnage of the two is not on the same order of magnitude at all at this time. How fast Kirishima was beaten back was doubled. Kirishima, are you okay? Looking like a bullet, Kirishima hit a big hole on the ground, and Midori rushed over to observe his injuries. I'm fine. Shaking his hand, Kirishima staggered up from the ground, shook his head vigorously, and then continued to rush out like a okay person. Can't let them escape, puppet, let's go together. Hero S definitely wouldn't let Shizaki and the others escape so easily. Million tightened the cloak on his body and said to Midori Valley with a serious expression. That's right, you go and chase Ji-Chi, this guy will let us deal with it. Long Ju also stood up, and Yayorozu Momo was with her. The Masada looked at Yayorozu with some worry, but was glared back soon. What do you mean by that look? This lady is very strong now. Yayorozu's self-esteem was frustrated by the look that seemed to be a good wife. Yayorozu explained quickly, but also deliberately stood up very fiercely, with an expression of, wrapped on me. Advertisement. Yes, she is not a weak person now. It's a hero, S, whose strength is also ranked among the strongest heroes. And there is also the veteran hero, S, Longju. It shouldn't be a problem to deal with a Shinji. Thinking of this, Masada also smiled relievedly. It is impossible to be by her side every time you fight, and there are always times when you have to be on your own. It's like the first time I met AFO, didn't it also go through hard battles and even lost my life? You can never grow without going through real battles. The Masada who figured it out also gave Yayorozu a cheering look. Jizaki, if you run away, you will make me look down on you. Ignoring the rock arm that Joy Eri was manipulating the sweeping rock arm, Masada led a group of Hero S and rushed towards the back of Harasaki and others. Don't think about it, I will stop you all here. Entering Shinji also took a sigh of relief in his heart. The speed turned out to be faster minute, just the wind pressure brought by the rock arm makes people inadvertently want to escape. Da. However, the sudden roar made his movements unnaturally delayed. Looking in the direction that hindered his movement, I saw that on the empty ground just now, 2 machine guns appeared out of thin air at this moment. And standing in the middle of the 2 machine guns, the person who is venting the bullets frantically is Yayorozu Wan. Hateful. In just a moment, entering Zhongyi lost the opportunity to block Masada's group and could only watch them run away from under their feet. Young master, they're catching up. This is not a good place to start a war, don't hold it back. Even if he has been abandoned as an abandoned child, Shinji in the middle is still thinking about Chisaki. It's a loyal guy, but it's a pity to follow the wrong person. Turning his head and casting a glance, Jin Zhongyi who kept roaring under Yayorozu's bullet storm, Masada shook his head and ran forward. Advertisement, insidious guy, see if I won't smash you into minced meat, the underworld is not something you can provoke casually. The task of blocking has failed, and Shinji has also concentrated his energy, preparing to deal with the 2 little bugs in front of him. Hidden in the concrete, he is constantly increasing the control of his quirk. It was originally just a surging rock, but under his control, he condensed into a giant made of rock. For flowers, the trick is almost the same as Masada's Susuo, but this is just a rock, it won't be so difficult to deal with. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Before the battle, Yayorozu Wan had stored a lot of calories and fat, so now it is very bold to use quirk. The rock giant, which is several tens of meters high, has an unparalleled pressure just standing there, but Yaoyorozu has no intention of retreating at all. And along with the actions of the stone giants, the dilapidated ground became more fragmented, and every movement caused a slight tremor on the ground, which also had a big impact on the Yaoyorozu Beihi Longju on the ground. The sound of clanging bells sounded on the stone wall. Even though the power of the machine gun was enough to break the stone, this power only knocked off a layer of skin on the surface of the stone giant, and it was unable to cause effective damage to the Changji. The mental activities of the two people are unknown to Changji. With a violent wave of his right hand, his heavy stone hip arm carried a shocking pressure. Only if you have been in actual combat can you be called hero, otherwise, you will always be a small child in the ivory tower. So, this time she decided that if Yaoyorozu does not endanger her life, she will not act. As the quirk started, a pair of small jet devices appeared on both sides of her waist. 2 jet holes extended to the rear, and the faint blue flame spewed out from the inside, instantly providing her with a strong thrust. She has seen the power of the mountain, how can she be afraid of this kind of waste? The technology of this device is not advanced, so Yaoyorozu, who has always been a master of learning, quickly figured out its principle, so that it can be used now, and it is displayed at this moment. This is what Yaoyorozu learned from Cha-Cha combat uniforms. Yaoyorozu's face is not so good. No, the firepower of the 2 machine guns simply can't suppress him. Yaoyorozu Bai's on-site internship was brought by her. She still knows how strong Yaoyorozu Bai is. Moreover, the vibration from the ground made her stand a little unstable, and many bullets were empty due to the shaking. Long Ju also turned into a transformation at this time, becoming a half-human and half-dragon creature, but she didn't shoot directly, but just protected. Ejector. Chapter 314 Yaoyorozu Million vs entering the middle clothes. Advertisement, only fighting can decide everything, who is underestimating who in the end. With the help of the jet device, Yaoyorozu escaped the attack of the golem in one slip. Bending slightly, the huge stone wall brushed her hair and passed over her head, bringing a huge wind. With this wind, Yaoyorozu Wan quickly jumped back and kept his distance from the stone giant. Her combat separation is not close combat, but to crush the opponent with long-range firepower. Bear. Colorful rays of light flashed, and a huge gun appeared in Yaoyorozu Wan's hand. Unlike ordinary machine guns, the caliber of this gun was extremely huge, and the rear end of the gun was connected to a huge can. Big man. Where are you looking? Although the stone giant has provided great strength, 427, and defensive power to Changyi, his response will also decline correspondingly to manipulate such a large number of rocks. Therefore, when Yaoyorozu Man made an attack, Joy Nakari still kept his punching movement and didn't adjust it.
Flamethrower. The faint blue flame spewed out from the barrel of the flamethrower, and quickly expanded after contacting the air, turning into a blazing flame.
The sky's flames stained the dim sky with blood, and the surging heat wave also blew away all the gravel on the ground. Fire. When Jinzong Changji reacted, Yaoyorozuman's attack had already arrived. The huge fireball blasted directly on the stone giant. Boom. After the fireball came into contact with the stone giant, it exploded, and the dazzling light made Long Ju, who was watching the battle from behind, couldn't help raising his arm. Too naive. Flames can't burn rocks. The stone giant, who was covered in fire, stagnated under the impact of the explosion of the fireball, but did not fall, but made a dull sound. If Masada is here, she will definitely give a good lesson to Changji. Advertisement. Seeing the life of the stone giant, Yaoyorozu Man was not surprised. She didn't think that a flamethrower would be able to defeat Jinzong Changji. Boom. 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 A series of fireballs roared out of the flamethrower and exploded continuously on the surface of the stone giant, but even so, it only temporarily stopped the movement of entering Zhangyi. You are just useless work. When the fuel of your torch is exhausted, I will kill you. Although he didn't receive any substantial harm, he was still very annoyed by Changji. The head of his dignified death Wicked Bajai Guild was actually forced to this point by a little girl. If you let those underworld colleagues know about it, you won't have to laugh out of your teeth. Yaoyorozu smiled at the corner of Yaoyorozu's mouth when he heard the words of Changji. Do you really think that this flamethrower is only as powerful as this? After finishing the fuel, Yaoyorozu dropped the flamethrower casually and looked at Cheng Yi with amusement.
You didn't realize that the flame on your body can't be extinguished.
What? Under Yaoyorozu Wan's reminder, Uruka Changji finally found a strange place. The flame on the stone giant is still burning, and there is no sign of getting smaller. Stones are not combustible. I am not an ordinary flamethrower, it sprays out, but it is a petrol bomb. Without stopping the movement in his hand, Yaoyorozu Wan's body flashed colorful light again, apparently urging the quirk and making weapons again. Damn it, if you go on like this, although the stone won't melt, I will die here. Yaoyorozu Wan's previous attack finally took effect at this time. The gasoline attached to the surface of the stone giant released a lot of heat during the burning process. Although this temperature wants to melt the stone giant in a short period of time, it will not be displayed, but this temperature does pass through the medium of the stone giant and rushes to Changji Chengyi. Carbon-based organisms have an absolute disadvantage to high temperature by nature. At this moment, Changyi's skin is hot and blistering. After a while, I am afraid that he will ulcerate, and even steam him to dry. Advertisement, ah. The quirk is activated to the maximum. The rabbit bites in a hurry, not to mention getting into the middle clothes. At this moment, he is actually urging quirk vigorously, completely ignoring the overdraft of his body. Yes, my life is almost gone, keeping my life is the most important thing. Under the manipulation of Changji in the middle, the outermost layer of the stone giant was peeling off continuously. After all, the gasoline could not penetrate into the core of the stone giant, but only burned on the surface. Boom, boom. She opened her whole body, like an armor full of technology. Although it is still very hot, as long as you endure it, you will win. Feeling the pain from all over the body and the faint sense of dehydration in the body, Chang Zhongyi bit the tip of his tongue hard to keep himself awake. Behind the back, soles of the feet, waist, hands, chest, all parts of Yaoyorozu Wan's whole body are covered by a layer of pitch black metal armor, and the defensive head is wearing a heavy helmet, only it leaked out in the eye area, and the partition made of transparent material protected it. Entering Changji, through the quirk, once again created a new stone giant. After that, there were countless stones spreading from Shimmeren's feet, gradually covering his whole body. And behind this suit of armor, a row of metal pipes extends straight through the ground, firmly fixing the whole person in place. Heavy firepower armor. As long as I drag it for a while, the opponent is just a high school student. As far as Quirk's endurance is concerned, she can't be my opponent at all. She who has made such a powerful weapon must be the end of the battle at this time. It seemed that he wanted to repeat the old trick. Under the control of Changji, the steps of the stone giant were extremely heavy. Each step was a huge test on the ground, and each step brought violent vibrations, and wanted Yaoyorozu to be unable to maintain the center. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. This little shock, for Yaoyorozu man at this time, had no effect at all. As long as he is allowed to slow down for a while, the temperature will drop rapidly. Through a small hole in the stone giant, Chang Zhongyi saw the outside scene, and then his pupils shrank sharply. By constantly hypnotizing himself, Chang Zhongyi found his fighting spirit again, and the stone giant started to walk forward with heavy steps. However, when he got rid of the flame and out of danger just now, Yaoyorozu Wan was obviously not waiting. 4.8. Chapter 315 The Might of Heavy Armor Advertisement. Despite the heavy armor, Yaoyorozu man's mobility was completely reduced to zero. However, she doesn't need to avoid either. When Yaoyorozu Wan resorted to this trick, it meant that her villains was about to be ruthlessly hit by heavy firepower. Burning cannon. Yaoyorozu Wan raised his hands, and the armor on both sides of his arms split, and the bulb-like spherical structure was exposed inside, and the dazzling light began to shine from inside. Laugh. Just like Lux's ultimate move in the Hero's Alliance, the unique structure of the armor gathers all the energy and gathers it in a small barrel, easily destroying the things in front of it. This blow directly exploded an arm of the stone giant. The huge stone man made a violent explosion as soon as his shoulder touched the burning cannon, and the power of the explosion was all concentrated in this second, and it was completely released. Smash. And without the stone giant, this arm is not under the control of Changji, directly turned into pieces of rubble, and fell to the ground. Shout, isn't it 23? Yaoyorozu Wan was obviously dissatisfied with her own results. In her thoughts, it is best to use this trick to directly get into Zhangchongyi. Among all her weapons, the power of this trick is also huge. I don't know how Bakugo would feel when he saw it. As far as the burning cannon is concerned, its power is compared with his nirvana, but it is not weak at all. Of course, Bakugo's mobility is higher, but the combustion cannon will not have any impact on the user, so which one is stronger between the two is not well judged. However, Yaoyorozu Wan's nirvana, heavy fire armor, is more than just such a weapon. Now let you see what is called fire suppression. Looking at the rock giant being hit by the huge reaction force, Yaoyorozu Wan took a deep breath, his eyes sharpened from behind the goggles. Chang Chang. Yaoyorozu Wan stretched his hands flat, and the previous barrel quickly retracted. Then, 2 arms, 2 thighs, and the back were suddenly split, densely packed hemispheres lined up in it. If it is a dense phobia, the patient saw it, enough to make him crazy. This is a fire suppression with full coverage and no dead ends. Advertisement, swish, 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 swish. After thinking about the tragic fate in the bad, Yaoyorozu Wan's heart was crossed, coming from all over the body, countless small things like missiles, soaring into the sky. These small balls, dragging the jettail inflammation, bombed from all directions toward the stone giant who entered the middle of the clothes and hid. It's so messy. Long Ju looked helplessly at Yaoyorozu Wan, who was showing his majesty, and said helplessly. Does she want to level this place? Unexpectedly, Yaoyorozu Wan, who is usually very gentle and virtuous, is even more violent than the violent Bakugo when he enters a fighting state. Because villains can't be underestimated. After all, Changji is the head of the deadly Bajai Club. A dragon policeman next to him said tremblingly. The scene in front of him completely subverted his impression of fighting. It's not so much a battle, it's better to say that this is a war. And Yaoyorozu Wan is the one equipped with countless advanced weapons. The bloated stone giant couldn't avoid the bomb that covered the sky. He could only use his hands up, squat down, and shrink into a ball as much as possible to protect his core. And at this time, the explosion also started. Boom 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 boom. The roaring is the raging fire. It is the heat wave that is raging. It was the air that trembled. The one who was beaten was the Changji in the middle. Continuous explosions occurred on the stone giant. These small missiles made by Yaoyorozu Wan were extremely fast. The dense explosions hit the stone giant's body with pits and pits, and the original solid body was also full of cracks. Are Shangying's students all monsters? The little leader who retreated to the farthest point, with nowhere to go, looked at the countless smoke and dust rising in the distance, but felt that his legs were a little soft. This is about to top a company of firepower. Moreover, this is a missile. Is this guy's family a weapon wholesaler? Advertisement. Obviously, this little leader is not clear about Yaoyorozu Wan's quirk. Also, people like him who want to climb up are more concerned about professional hero, S. A student at Shangying School. What is that? Let's exercise for a few years before coming back. No matter how strong it is, there is no right to be useful. However, this year's group of students really reawakened his yearning for strength in his heart. The bombing lasted a full minute. When the explosion was over, the smoke and dust dispersed, and the ruined walls revealed the torn body of Changji. Forbearing the fear, for fear that there would be another explosion here, a team of police officers rushed into the battlefield where the smell of gunpowder had not yet dissipated, dragged the Changji into the middle, and quickly treated them. One step later, you will be completely ascended to heaven when you enter Zhongyi. The instigator of all this, Yaoyorozu Wan, when he saw Jinzong's uniform fall down, he lifted the heavy fire armor and walked out staggeringly. Although she looked very prestigious just now, she is also in a state of overdraft at 430. She doesn't have the perverted physical strength like Masada. A series of weapons have completely exhausted her stored fat, and her physical strength has also bottomed out. Especially this special move, heavy fire armor, it consumed 80% of her stamina at once. However, under this huge consumption, the effect brought by it is amazing. Even the Changji who has drunk the potion and has greatly improved his ability, also lost in an instant. Gasping for breath, Yaoyorozu Wan walked to Long Ju's side. The cake, give me a cake. After a fierce battle, Yaoyorozu only wants to replenish calories as soon as possible. Anyway, she is the kind that can't eat fat anyway. Even if she consumes too much calories, she can store it and use it to cast quirk. Therefore, after the battle, a few desserts have become her norm. This was often teased by Masato in the past, but under Yaoyorozu's iron fist, Masato quickly disappeared.
In the end, I even feel that this habit has a unique contrast. Seeing Yaoyorozu's desperate appearance, Longju also took a piece of cake from the dragon sleeve behind him in time and stuffed it into her hand. He was very relieved to see Yaoyorozu looking like he couldn't wait to eat the cake.
The future of this society is this group of young people. Chapter 316 The Defeated Kirishima Advertisement. I skipped the first battlefield that was over for the time being, and shortly after Harasaki and the others left, Masada and his party chased after him. However, just like the previous entry into the middle clothes, there appeared a group of people blocking the way in front of them. Chaotic waves move shoulders, the sky covers the walls and is kind. Soon, someone recognized the identity of the person in the way. Masada, let us take care of it here. You continue to move forward. Chisaki has already gone farther and farther. Because the roads inside the base camp of the Bajai Society of the Dead turned around, and everyone was not familiar with the terrain here, they were afraid that there would be institutions on the road. So even if Masada relied on seeing and hearing to lock the position of Jizaki and others, but there were many teammates behind him, he was still separated by Jizaki and the others. After seeing the person in the way this time, Million took the initiative to stand up. He obviously knew the two of them, and he had also investigated Luanbo's shoulder movement in Tien Gai Bai Kai, and understood the difficulties of the two of them, so he took the initiative to fight. Senior Tongxing, I will stay with you. The relationship with Million has quickly come to a good level, and it is the Green Valley that came out of the same line. Seeing Million preparing to stay, he also hurriedly set out. Then I will stay, I am the strongest shield. While running, Masada looked back at the three of them, and saw the firm determination on the faces of Midori Valley and Kirishima, and Million's eyes with, rest assured, and nodded. Fat, please stay and take care of them too. Don't worry about the villains in front, I have everything. Although he was very relieved of the strength of the three, especially the strength of Million, Zheng Xuan still got rid of Fat. In the veteran hero, Fat's defensive power is famous. With him, even injuries can definitely be controlled within a limit. You don't need to say that I will stay. Anyway, Kirishima boy is still an intern in my firm. Patting his thick chest, Fat rubbed his fists and walked in front of Kirishima. Let your classmates see the results of your recent training, Kirishima boy. With a high jump, Masada skipped the chaotic waves directly from the sky, shoulder movement and Tien Gai Bai Si, and continued to run forward.
At this time, there were not many people behind him, and only the two people, Sui Senpei, Tiangwan, and a few dragon sets who were basically unable to exert their power were left.
Advertisement. Both Aizawa Shota and Yayan had a strong ability to coordinate. They led a large army from the beginning to surround the base camp of the Bazaar Society, so they didn't follow up at this time. However, this is also their belief in Masada's strength. Luanbo's shoulder movement and Tien Gai Bai Si also turned a blind eye to Masada's departure, and even saw that Masada had not stayed to deal with them, and they were privately relieved. If you can, I believe no one wants to compete with this newcomer, number 1, in the limelight, except for the kind of madman who is also alive. Boom. Kirishima couldn't hold back her temper at this time, and her whole body instantly hardened, fists punched, and rushed out. This is his must-kill. And Wuling Guo Waru, by raising the body's hardness and durability to the highest level, to resist attacks, naturally, the attack power will also be greatly increased. Take a punch. Kirishima, who has entered high school, is no longer like him when he was in junior high school. Although Kirishima has longed for masculinity since he was a child, and his admirer, hero, Han Lai Shangdu, before, his quirk was not particularly surprising. It can even be said to be weak. Without training, his physical fitness is just the same as that of ordinary people, and his hardened ability can't be used at all. Even his younger brother sometimes makes fun of him. However, the one standing here at this moment is not the old Kirishima Ejiro, but the furious Lai Shangdu. Take me a punch. At the speed of the 100-meter race, Kirishima leaned over and rushed to the front of Tengai Bicha. But Tien Gai Bai Kai seemed to have not reacted yet, and even the expression on his face was as calm as before. Judging from Kirishima's current punch speed, the distance between the two of them, and the direction of Kirishima's attack. Kirishima's previous combat experience told him that this punch must be hit. Puff. Kirishima's fist did not miss, and hit a pale blue shield, making a dull sound. It's just a cover, see if I won't break you, advertisement. Although there were some episodes, Kirishima was not discouraged by it. Although his feet have stopped, Kirishima can still use his body to exert force again. Exhausting all his strength, Kirishima poured all his beliefs into his fists, hoping to break the rain cover, and then smashed his fist on the expressionless face of Tien Gabi. Where did the protective cover come from? Is this guy's quirk? He can swing through his shoulders at extreme speed, and can make a staggering, bullet-like combo. I seem to be ignored. This quirk looks very weak and single, but if it is combined with a pair of turbulent shoulders that move like iron, there is an extremely strong body, it will be extremely terrifying. Fat hurried over, and he didn't expect Kirishima to lose so quickly and so thoroughly. It's like a moat that separates Tianabiji and Kirishima in time and space. In the green valley in the distance, I only saw the waves of the shoulders waving the afterimages, and then there was a burst of air, and then Kirishima flew out like a bullet, smashing through a wall. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Kirishima boy. Boat. The above content looks very long, but in fact it only happened for a moment. According to his perception of Kirishima's strength, even if heads up is not an opponent, the defense will definitely be fine for a while. After all, Kirishima's, and Wuling passing Waru, is a trick he feels tricky. If that trick is not applied, it is really impossible to break with the power of fat, and it can only be dragged until Kirishima's physical strength is exhausted. The stormy fist fell on his body at a speed that Kirishima couldn't even react. But this is not science fiction, the reality is ruthless. At the same time that Kirishima attacked Tengabiji, Xiaobo's shoulders moved. Bang, 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 bang. Seeing that villains is right in front of him, but his fist can't hit anyway, Kirishima feels this stubbornness now. It was just such a thin cover, but it blocked Kirishima's strongest blow. Chapter 317 Assassin's Romance. Advertisement, and Wuling Guo Waru, is a very physically demanding trick. With Kirishima's current strength, it can only last for 2 minutes. But in these 2 minutes, he is an invincible existence. Even Bakugo's explosion cannot cause effective damage to him in this state. However, Kirishima's shoulder-moving attack caused Kirishima to feel pain. The gap in strength is too big. Climbing out of the hole in the wall screaming, Kirishima shook his dizzy head, shaking off the dust on it. When hit by the turbulent shoulder, Kirishima felt that he was run over by a truck. His small body didn't have the slightest resistance, so he flew out. I lowered my head and glanced at my arm. The keratinized skin on it had been shattered from the outer layer. He could smash his outer armor with his fist alone. Kirishima was very surprised. In addition to Masada, this is the first person to break through his defense head-on. Seeing that Kirishima was embarrassed, but apparently not suffering any serious injury, he was surprised at the turbulence of his shoulders. He is a 430 fighting fanatic from the underground fighting world. Few people can stand up after eating his fist. Even if there are, those people will definitely start begging for mercy. So he has been looking for an opponent who can bet on his life. Until the battle with Harasaki, 5 battles and 5 defeats, so agreed to be taken into the 8th Saikai. And the high school student in front of him actually resisted his fist. Boy, you were funny, Give your name, for such an opponent, Luanbo responded with respect. Kirishima, who returned to the team, gave the worried Midoriya a relieved look. Yongying High School Class A, Kirishima Eijiro. Kirishima Eijiro. Luanbo moved his shoulders and repeated it in a low voice, and took out a finger tiger from the bag in his clothes and put it on his hand. It's a man's name, but it's a pity, you will die here today. This kind of confrontation and dialogue made Kirishima, who was easily impulsive, want to rush up again, and fight against chaos with a few punches. Fortunately, he was held back by Fat. Kirishima boy, don't act recklessly. Advertisement. Fat palms rested on Kirishima's shoulders, Fat said solemnly. Even if you can resist his attack, how many seconds can you hold on? And even if you resist, can you make multiple fists? Your strength is far inferior to him? Fat's remarks made Kirishima's anger drop instantly. Yes, I am not a spear that goes forward bravely, but an invincible shield. From the perspective of that guy's fist, the only people on our side who can resist are me and you. Although Luanbo only took one shot, but Fat's old-fashioned vision has allowed him to make a preliminary analysis. Our task is to help teammates withstand attacks at critical moments, so as to create opportunities for teammates to attack. Like the Tiangai bike on the opposite side, defense is our task. Knowing that he and Kirishima had insufficient offensive power, Fat quickly positioned the two of them. I see. Knowing that he was indeed too impulsive just now, Kirishima took a big breath and relieved in wooling over Waru, trying his best to conserve energy. Good steel should be used on the blade. Hey, what do you mean, kid, look down on me. Seeing Kirishima actually relieve the quirk, Luanbo was furious. I take back what I said before, you are not a man. Walking slowly to the front, standing in a row with Green Valley and Million, Kirishima smiled at the corner of his mouth and said lightly. A man is not a brash man who can only fight alone. Cooperation is also a man's romance. Ha 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 ha, Kirishima's younger brother said well. CDEI, Million, who hadn't said anything, let out a hearty laugh. Hero, S. Needs teamwork. Just like Fat said, I and Izuku are in charge of the offense, Kirishima, you and Fat cover us. After speaking, Million launched his own, penetration, quirk, dropped in from the ground and disappeared. What about people? Come out to Lao Su, and fight me upright. Hole, do you only hide like a nymph? A living person suddenly disappeared, and the chaos was not blind. He naturally found the situation on the opposite side and stood in place and yelled. Advertisement. Tien Gai Bichi also opened his eyes that had been squeezed, and glanced around vigilantly. His own strength can be said to be very weak in the Bajai society where monsters gather. The only thing worthy of praise is his extremely sturdy protective cover. Therefore, the organization also arranged for him and Luanbo to form a team, with one person in charge of attack and one person in charge of defense. In the previous task, their combination can be said to be unfavorable. But this time, he felt a faint sense of crisis. Let alone the long-established Fat, the strength and fighting attitude shown by the three high school students in front of them is completely different from the age they should be. Wow! Suddenly there was a sound of wind in my ears. Million, who has been in the Yayan office for so long, has long been learned about the skills of Yayan, so compared to Kirishima's reckless fighting method, he is better at using his brain, fighting. And these can be easily achieved through Million's quirk. The responsive Tien Gai Bichi hurriedly put up the protective cover and covered himself in it. Million's quirk made him a natural assassin, flat-cut combo with a cleave. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. After all, the assassin's romance is melee. Whether it's easily approaching villains through the ground, or ignoring obstacles and mechanisms, they are all dreams of an excellent assassin. Although he hasn't seen villains yet, his instinct from fighting for many years tells him that the opponent has already launched an attack. It's hard, and it's an all-round defense, and he himself has also carried forward his advantages very well, which can be seen from the fact that everyone in Class A can solve the problem in just a few seconds. It's like playing Assassin's Creed. Whenever there is an infiltration mission, the players will smile. Dang 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 dang. However, the previous combo that could easily take away villains failed this time. Infiltrate? Killing all villains is not equivalent to infiltrating? Sure enough, behind him, Million's figure appeared suddenly like a ghost, as if flashing behind him. Million's series of attacks all hit the shield of Tien Gai Bichi, and did not attack him himself. Chapter 318. The Power of Technology Advertisement. In just a moment of fighting, Million realized that it was impossible to break through the shield of Tien Gai Bichi with his own strength. Although Kirishima's attack just now can be seen, he still likes to use his own experience to judge. Without a single blow, he flees thousands of miles away. Just as Chaos rushed in the direction of Tien Gai Bichi with his shoulders to help his teammates, Million launched his own quirk, went directly through Tien Gai Bichi's protective cover and body, and escaped to the ground. It's gone again. What the hell is this? Luanbo's shoulder movement apparently had never encountered such a weird opponent, and he randomly punched the air a few times, venting his anger. But the battle will not end because of Million's departure. Prickly Thorny. In the distant Green Valley, a green light flickered on his body, and he launched, one for all, and followed Million's footsteps to launch an attack. Finally, there is someone who can fight. Green Valley's attacking method was a straight line, and there was a glimmer of joy in the eyes of the turbulent shoulders. He waved his arms and was about to make a combination of punches with Green Valley. Don't think about it. A fat white man wearing a thick down jacket suddenly appeared in front of Luanbo's shoulder attack. While blocking Luanbo's shoulder, he also forced his fist to resist. Where did you come from? The successive attacks were interrupted, the chaotic shoulders were completely furious, and the Green Valley was no longer ignored, and the quirk was madly launched towards the fat man in front of him. Two arms full of muscles were swung into two windmills by him. A fist that was invisible to the naked eye hit the opponent's body quickly. However, unlike the impression of the hitting hand, Luanbo moved his shoulders and felt like his fists were hitting a ball of cotton. There was a weird feeling that he couldn't tell. Don't you know that fat people are very flexible? This fat white man was fat. He was experienced in the battle. As Green Valley rushed out, he was dispatched in the direction of the blind corner of the turbulent shoulders, and finally rushed to block the attack before the Green Valley. He was covered with a lot of fat, and now he became the best shield. The fists that moved his shoulders in chaos hit his fat. After the fat was weakened, his strength was negligible. Stab. Advertisement. The sound of lightning flashing through the air sounded in the ears of the turbulent shoulders. With turbulent power, he kicked the head that was moving shoulders into chaos. Careful. A light blue protective shield just appeared on the path of Green Valley's attack out of thin air, once again stopping Hero S.'s attack. Are you Hero S. only playing Yin? After being stolen twice from the back, the chaos and shoulders were moved and my heart was very aggrieved. Do these Shangying students all learn backstabs all day long? It seems that if the opponent's shield is not resolved, this battle will only fall into a war of attrition. Tianyi's reaction was really surprising. While dealing with Million, he could also take into account the chaos and shoulder movement, and erect the protective cover in time. However, he was also a little frantic at this time. After Million disappeared, Tianyi's couldn't feel his breath at all. When he sensed Million again, Million had appeared behind him again and launched an attack.
Backstabs are hard to guard against. Even if he had already used the latest quirk potentiation to make his protective shield able to exist in many ways at the same time, this kind of fear still made him tired to deal with it.
Moreover, Tianyi can feel it. This student who looks like Ding Ding, strength, speed, and reaction ability, is not comparable to the previous guys. If you get hit by him, it will be bad, Tianyi thought inwardly. To be able to sit on the throne of Big Three among the talented heroes, Million naturally did not rely on the skillful use of quirk to reach the top. His physical fitness is also outstanding. Although it seems that his appearance is completely different from that of Xingta, where strength and explosiveness are written on the muscles, but the introverted power in his body is not something that Kirishima, who has just exercised for a year, can surpass him. Through his own penetration, quirk, Million's attacks are true and false, and the place where they appear is often in the blind spot of Tianyi's vision. For flowers, if there are no other variables, he will soon win. Advertisement. After all, the nerves have been strained and will break, and Tianyi is almost reaching the limit at this moment. Sky cover. Seeing the situation of his teammates, Chaobo couldn't care about his own side anymore, and hit the Green Valley, who was blocked because of the attack, and couldn't change direction or response in the air, and knocked him away. Boom 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 boom. But he soon felt the difference. The steel-fingered tiger tore his protective suit with the sharp wind, and penetrated his fat with a force several times heavier than before. Although the body was activated by the full envelopment, the power of Ran Wave's shoulder strike with one hand surpassed the current Green Valley. It hurts. Fortunately, when he flew out, he was caught by Kirishima, who rushed over halfway through the flight. The two made a long trace on the ground and finally stopped. Faster, heavier and heavier fists. It flew to Green Valley, but Fat blocked the chaos. The muscles all over the body are raised high in the turbulent shoulder movement, and the tight blue veins reveal their strength silently, and the whole person is like a round of giant hammers. 0. Dead fat pig, I want to blow you up. Ah! Within a second, countless fist marks appeared on Fat's body. Obviously, the Fat he was proud of couldn't help him this time. Long. 2 test tubes flashing suspiciously blue fluorescence appeared in his hands, and then the turbulent shoulders moved directly and brutally bite towards the test tube. The hard teeth crushed the glass of the test tube, and the glass slag mixed with the medicine flowed into his throat. But now, he can't manage that much. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. It was the same as the power of the live bottle that knocked the medicine before. When the medicine was on the stomach, the body of Chaos shoulders broke out with an astonishing aura. There was no time to digest this power for him. The intuition that came out made a battle with Fat. Fat didn't flinch, he still agitated the fat on his body, and greeted the chaos, trying to block his attack like before. I have always only moved my shoulders to the chaos of believing my fists, and disdain those who use potions to increase their strength. Chapter 319 Furious Lai Shangdu, Advertisement. Due to the skyrocketing body shape, the turbulent beak mask has become fragments, revealing a face that is firm but a bit evil behind the mask. The vest on his body also became tattered and hung on his body, and the muscles all over his body were a few laps bigger than before. The swelling size didn't make him bloated, but instead made him look more explosive. Dai to Lao Su ah. The muscle strength and quirk are urged to the extreme, and the turbulent shoulder fists are like a piledriver, blasting on Fat's body. If Lu Fei in another dimension sees this scene, he will definitely be pleasantly surprised. Come with me. The fast fist even slapped the fat of the Fat with a faint white gas leaking from it. Facing the frantic chaos, Fat just closed his eyes and held on. It's not that he doesn't want to avoid 430, but he can't avoid it at all. Fat's huge size and lot of fat are destined to not be fast. However, the huge size of Chaos's shoulders made his attack coverage larger. Fat didn't have the chance to run out of the turbulent shoulder attack range, and was trapped in the shadow of a gust of fist. Moreover, the chaotic shoulder movement is also very particular. It will not knock the Fat into the air in an instant. Instead, it will use skills to balance the force in all directions, creating a vortex that makes the Fat unable to move, to be beaten. Fat, Million, who was fighting with Tien Gai Bai Si not far away, saw this scene. Even he panicked, and his actions were also a bit slower. Tien Gai Bai Si also had a chance to breathe and pulled away from him. Distance. Don't worry about me, I can still hold it, so let's fix the protective cover first. Fat, who was struggling with his hands in front of him, said with difficulty and said that the turbulent fists on his shoulders did cause a lot of damage and pain to him, but this is also an opportunity. If he can survive, he will be able to broke out with immense power. One for all surrounded, 20%. When the leader spoke, the rest would naturally obey the order. In a hero's team, the most taboo thing is not to follow the command line. Knowing that even if he helped Fat in the past, Legu didn't help much, he quickly adjusted his figure and rushed to Tiang Ibichi. He couldn't get close to the side of Chaos with his shoulders moving. If he was caught in the wind of fist, it would be done by his defense. It will definitely die. Advertisement therefore, it is the right choice to concentrate on solving the sky-covered walls first, and then free up hands to deal with the chaos and shoulder movements. Kirishima, who has superb defensive power, used, and Wuling passing Waru, resisting the splashing gravel, and walked to the center of the chaotic shoulder movement and Fat battle. Kirishima boy, what are you doing here? You will die.
Fat asked Kirishima angrily. Although Kirishima's quirk is the best option for defense, he has not grown up yet. Facing such an attack, he may really be beaten to death.
And just like what Fat said, Kirishima's strongest stunt was just a slightly harder stone in front of the turbulent shoulder movement of the medicine, and it quickly turned into fragments under the blow of the iron fist. As a result, Kirishima became a bloodman. The blood vessels burst and blood spattered out of it, and the warmth brought by it shocked Kirishima's spirit. But he knew that this was not a good phenomenon. If such a large amount of blood loss continues, he will die soon. I can't ignore you, Fat. Feeling the pain in his body, Kirishima knew that Fat had been under such an attack for a long time. If I really die here, it can only mean that my strongest shield is nothing more than this. As long as it is crushed and hardened again, it will be fine. In desperation, Kirishima exploded with unearthed power in his body. Keep it in your heart, Kirishima. Remember, quirk's practice cannot be done behind closed doors. Fighting, only constant fighting, constantly fighting against people stronger than yourself, constantly strengthening your beliefs in fierce battles. This is the fastest, the best way to improve quirk.
Kirishima had previously asked Masada how to become stronger, as Masada said.
Now, this sentence appeared in Kirishima's mind. Fierce battle? Strong enemy? Kirishima seems to understand, isn't a man in front of him just like this? Quirk, quirk, quirk. At this time, only if you make your quirk stronger, will you have a ray of life. And Wuling past Waru change, growth, sometimes it's such a sudden thing. In a desperate situation, Kirishima transformed, although he didn't realize it at the moment. Advertisement densely packed, keratinized crystals emerged from his arms. They did not spread all over the body like the previous in Wuling Guo Waru, but grew violently in one direction, and the growth rate was even faster than the chaotic shoulder damage. Speed. A shield. A shield made up of Kirishima quirk stands in front. The shape of this shield is irregular, and the outside is not gorgeous. It has many corners and pits, and its surface is covered with spikes. It is connected to Kirishima's arm. However, it is such a shield that blocks the attack of the turbulent shoulders.
And now Kirishima has completely lost his human appearance, wrapped in dense crystals, with a shield growing on his hand. He is more like an alien.
You kid. Ranbo moved his shoulders to look at Kirishima's eyes a little complicated. The shield in front of me was obviously not made of steel, but it was harder than steel. The spikes on the shield are not vegetarian. The hand bones were pierced by spikes, and the turbulent shoulder attacks also stopped abruptly. If he continues to fight, his fist will be destroyed. Breathing heavily, white mist appeared on his body with turbulent shoulders. This is a phenomenon that his body temperature is too high and his sweat evaporates. Looking at his bloody and some unconscious hands, Luanbo's shoulder kinesthetic 4.8 is a bit ironic. Kirishima, who had been mocked by himself as a maiden before, rushed out the moment his attack reached the strongest, and successfully blocked his attack, and also caused him harm. Report your name again, kid. I didn't feel it when I attacked just now. I stopped at this moment, and the turbulent shoulder movement only felt that the power in the body was fading rapidly. Sure enough, did the side effects of the 2 tubes of medicine come so quickly? However, I can still fight. There are no warriors lying in bed waiting to die, only warriors who die on the battlefield. He squeezed his fist, letting the blood wine fall to the ground, and the turbulent shoulders moved to know that this might be his last battle. My name is One. The sound of the metal plate rang from behind Kirishima's hideous mask. Furious Lai Shangdu. Chapter 320. More people bully fewer people. Advertisement. Thank you, Kirishima boy. Thanks to you, you bought me the necessary time. Behind Kirishima, Fat, which had resisted countless attacks just now, suddenly walked out of the smoke. These white smoke came from his body. This is Fat's ballast trick, and few people have seen it. Ordinary people only know that his funny fat can absorb damage, so he always stands in the forefront and silently bears the attack of villains. However, as he absorbs the damage, the energy of villains' attacks will gradually accumulate in his body. And when he surpasses a critical point, he will be able to release these forces all at once. The chubby white fat man had disappeared. Instead, he was a man with strong muscles and sharp corners. There is a saying that every fat person loses weight as a potential stock. This sentence is not fake on Fat. Are you fat? Even Kirishima, who was still aggressive just now, couldn't help but feel dumbfounded at the moment, and the turbulent shoulder movement was also blinded and looked at the fat, which seemed to have been pumped and trimmed. Of course it's me. Who else will suddenly pop up here besides me? Fat grinned with white teeth and the corners of his mouth cocked. Now he is confident and turbulent, hitting his shoulders back and forth hundreds of times. Continue to the death fight. Chaos shoulder movement is also worthy of being the king who came out of the underground fighting field. After a brief surprise, he reattended the attacking posture, and was about to defeat the 2 people in front of him. On the other side, Tien Gai Bai Si, under the siege of Million in Green Valley, was already at stake. Damn, Hero, will only have more people and less people bully? Even with a strong shield that can block the frontal attack of the 2, the rapid consumption of physical strength makes Tien Gai Baichi's heart full of crisis. There is no need for chivalrous spirit to deal with you guys. Legu, who had been chasing too much for a long time, faced Tien Gabi's questioning, but he didn't even pay attention to it. Even the 2 iron legs were a little bit faster. I'm just crowded, what can you do with me? Advertisement. Cut. With a click, Tien Gai Bichi once again propped up the shield in front of him to block LVGU's whip leg. And Million's constant backstabs behind him also annoyed him. Although he was blocked every time at the last moment, the place where his physical strength was most consumed was when he was dealing with Million. The familiar sound of the wind rang in his ears. Tien Gai Bichi knew that Million's attack had arrived, but did not turn his head back, and his other hand also set up a shield behind his back. Boom. However, the fist that was blocked by the shield before, this time really fell on Tien Gai Baisi's head. Puff. After receiving a heavy blow, Tien Gai Baisi's body was too late to stand firmly, so he was knocked into the air by this strong force, and slammed into the shield he erected severely, causing a second injury. This guy. What's the matter? Feeling the loosening of the teeth in his mouth, a few blue veins appeared on Tien Gai Baichi's head, and his triangular eyes like a viper narrowed slightly, staring at Million, which still maintained an attacking shape. Ha! Hit the bullseye. Million's arm was split twice by the shield, and it seemed to violate the balance. The previous attacks were all his temptations. Although he usually looks giggling, once he gets serious, he is extremely cautious. After analyzing the release speed, release time and duration of Tien Gai Bichi's shield, Million took the shot. Although he was able to pass through the shield before, it wouldn't be fun if he was cut in half. Senior Tongxing, Green Valley, who didn't cause any harm to villains for a long time, was originally very depressed. At this moment, Villains was finally injured, and he sighed fiercely.
Smash. Quote. Without giving Tien Gai Bai Kai time to think, Lu Jiyu rushed up again with a roundabout kick, beating the water dog.
The battle after that was very simple. In the face of Million, who can ignore the shield, coupled with the extremely fast and attacking power of Green Valley Izuku, Tien Gabi Kai has no strength to fight back, completely becoming a sandbag. Fluorine. Advertisement soon, with a blue nose and a swollen face, he lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Green Valley and the others have solved the battle, and we can't hold back here, Fat. From the previous combat effectiveness, Kirishima can see that the turbulent shoulder movement can't break his own defense now. However, while greatly improving his armor, his physical energy consumption has also doubled, so Kirishima held a shield high in one hand to protect his head and rushed towards the Chaos shoulder. Furious and stubborn fight to split the slaughter. The name of the move is very loud, but it is actually a straight punch with no skill at all. Get out of my way. The sound of breaking through the air sounded. Fat's arm contracted to the extreme, and in the next second, he shot out fiercely. The battlefield on this side came to an end, and on the other side, Shizaki, who had fled all the way, finally stopped. The gap in strength cannot be made up overnight. Boom. Soon, a large number of police officers followed the sound and arrested the two seriously injured and unconscious. However, in addition to Kirishima on the battlefield, Fat is also in action. However, with Kirishima's now invincible fist, it is enough to cause damage to the injured shoulder movement. Knowing that Kirishima quirks troublesome turbulence and shoulder movement, he did not hesitate to have a few more holes in his fist, and tried his best to fight Kirishima. After a short pause, Kirishima flew out at 430. In Chaos Wave, he shook his fist out of his shoulder and his body was in a short-lived state of stiffness. Fat came to him in a slippery step and assumed a posture. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. In front of him, there is a deep gully, telling the power of Fat's attack. This battle. Burning off the remaining fat on the body, turning it into huge kinetic energy, a large amount of white steam exploded from Fat's body, covering the site of the turbulent shoulders. We won. Ordinary walls couldn't stop the body moving in chaos. He smashed several walls one after another. After passing through several houses, he fell helplessly into the ruins. Unsuspectingly, he moved his shoulders unpreparedly, and only felt that his chest was hit by a hammer. His mouth was sweet, a large mouthful of blood mixed with internal organs spewed out, and his body flew back uncontrollably.